Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a Veve OMI update video. Guys, if you're new, welcome. For not, welcome back. I love you all. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. Commenting, liking, and subscribing is a free way to help support the channel. Non-free ways are Patreon and smashing that super thanks button down below. Super chats as well. And if you'd like, get a Steve Cannon photo over there. That Steve Cannon photo. Typically, those go for about 25 grand, but for the Predator project, he's doing about 15 grand, just because some of those profits will go to animal charities, and a tiny bit of those profits will go to me. Normally they're about 15 grand, but he is getting them out for 12,000 if you pay an OMI. So just let you know that there are only three that are being made. Typically there's 12. Here there are only three. I have one, my friend has one, and there's one left. Anyway, so we're gonna start with, I guess we'll start with GrumpyCat before anything, and then we'll go to OMI, then we'll go to Veve, and happy Veterans Day to my fellow veterans. I love you all. Anyway, we're going to go and take a look at the OMI over here. Sorry it's a little late, but I had a couple of Veterans Day festivities to be going on. Veterans Day festivities have been increasingly incredible. Um, ever since I joined. I'll talk about that for a little bit before I go and get into this, just as kind of a shout out to my friends. Um, I kind of said in the last stream that sometimes veterans go and they say, oh, they kind of glorify, they glorify their service and they glorify, what they did. And, I'm not gonna lie, I mostly drove a forklift. I mostly drove big vehicles. Um, I'm sure you could look up my records. There is no official record of combat. There is no official record of being anywhere dangerous. There's no official record of me being anywhere other than really Kuwait. But there is you still feel it. You still go and say, like, oh, hey, what you do has a greater effect than what you think. And that doesn't just go for veterans. That goes for everyone. That goes for the amount of people that think, oh, it doesn't really matter. There's 8 billion people in the world. And okay, fair point. If you want to be nihilistic about that, you can. But again, what you do really has a greater effect than what you think. And it's, especially nowadays, everyone will know 1,000 people, and you're one person away from a million, and you're two people away from a billion. And you could really influence people, especially someone like me that has thousands of followers on YouTube, thousands of followers on Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, etc. Um, so I want to let you know I do take that seriously, and that's why I do try to do and make unbiased videos and videos where it's like, okay, let me try to look at it from an outside point of view. Anyway, let's start off with a GrumpyCat. And obviously ask me anything you want. So I can't mention that yet. We're gonna go to the GrumpyCat here. GrumpyCat will be, wow, it's down 11% today at a $1.65 million market cap. Wow, I need more. I will get more. I am doing I can't talk about it yet. I am doing a moonshot, uh, investing, and it's not a ton of money, investing several $100s in something. I will talk about it at some point. Um, it's seeing what that happens. Grumpy Cat I told a buddy of mine, hey, I'm doing this moonshot in this company, and I'll invest 20% of the profits into Grumpy Cat, which could be thousands of dollars. It might not be, but who knows. And again, I am doing a side job over the next couple weeks. So in 3 weeks, when those chickens come home to roost, a good amount will probably go into Grumpy Cat. A lot, again, 93 or 94 of those top 100 wallets have only held or bought more, like myself. There have not been, there's only like 6 or 7 wallets that have gone on and sold, and some haven't even sold all, some have just sold some. So I even had a big investor say, like, hey, any movement on Grumpy Cat? So I texted him a photo saying, you want to know why this Grumpy Cat token is the best meme token? And it says, find out on Tuesday, the 21st of November at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have Tim Tanner, the Slum Doge Millionaire, Randy Chavez, DB Crypto, and Forgage. We will be all on a Twitter space. I will be live streaming that. I have told my boss about it. We will be, like I said, live streaming that. I will not be at work. They'll be on a Twitter space. I'll be live streaming it. And then I said, well, there's a big Twitter space coming in 10 days with a couple of big names. biggest is Slum Doge Millionaire. He's got 10 times the amount of Twitter and YouTube subscribers I do. We are working on the comic and trying to get it out before the end of the year, but we also don't rush it too much, so it'll most likely be in Q1 of next year. And something else is actually farther along than the comic, which will likely be in Q1 as well. So he says, great groundwork for the moonshot. And I said, doing our best. So that is it for the Grumpy Cat. I'm going to go over OMI a little bit before we get into Veve. So on the Akomi, we are actually down to rank number 210. A couple months back, we were actually at number 100. So we were in the top 100 for a little bit, and that top 100 was great. But the top 100 was something that was just within our grasp at number 99. We were right there. We just missed it. And we go over, and we are now at number 210. So and again, there's nothing that has changed for the negative with Veve and OMI. So to be down like 50% or 45% over the last, like 120 days, where nothing really negative has come out about it. Just a lot of people's perceptions. This is incredibly undervalued, and if it stays down here for a couple more months, or if it stays down here for another 3.5 weeks, and what I do might happen, I could possibly get another like 8 million OMI. Like I'll blow right past 180, go to like 183. So hopefully that happens. Hopefully we stay down here for another 3.5 weeks. I don't know if we will, but again, the FUD is at an all-time high. Give me $100,000 right now. At least half would go into OMI, if not a good like 75%. Again, a lot of it would go into GrumpyCat. A lot of it would go into just me personally, just be like, hey, okay, at least I have bills covered. At least I have this done. Rent through the end of the year. I mean, there's only really one more month till the end of the year that I have to pay rent on, and then other stuff. But yeah, a lot of it would go into Akomi because again, you as a business owner, if you're just starting a business, listen, if you have like 50K in your bank account by the end of the year, and you started with only $10,000 at the beginning of the year, well, that's a $40,000 profit. You're going to have to pay capital gains tax on that. However, if you go and expense that, extra $40,000 and you get it down to, 15,000, well, you only have to pay taxes on 5,000 because again, what comes in is income and what goes out is expenses. So that's just really another way to go and do that. I know a lot of people really won't understand that, but a lot of you will. So if you ever create your own corporation, an LLC, that's a good way to do it. Shoot me a message. We'll figure it out. I'll walk through it with you together. But OMI's down 0.7% on the day at 0.0064. And listen, I put out feelers the other day, a couple days ago, saying, hey, on Twitter and on Facebook, if you have any OMI, if you're done with the project, if you're just like, hey, listen, the team's not delivering on this, there's a bunch of FUD, there's a bunch of this, there's a bunch of delays, I want to get out of the token. Okay, let me know. Shoot me a message, tag me in something. I will buy your OMI off the app. I'll buy it off of, even if you don't have it on the app and you don't want to pay fees and you don't want to be like, hey, I'm not really sure how to sell, because every time I choose to put in a sell order, somebody else undercuts me and I can never sell it. Let me know. Send me the OMI. I'll pay you directly. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, heck it, whatever you have, let me know. But I went and said that to everyone, and nobody's selling. I mean, really, the only people that are selling are really just a couple of big wallets. And those big wallets, if you take a look at them, the ones that are selling, they used to have billions of OMI, and they still have a couple billion, but not nearly as much. So it's a lot easier for us to do that big moonshot. It's a lot easier for us to go and just because now, listen, there were three people. There were three people that had tens of billions of OMI, like 40, 50 billion OMI between the three of them. And guess what? All three of them combined might have 10 million OMI left, but I don't even think it's that much. So it's a lot easier for us to moonshot when a lot of people come in because those people don't have a lot of power anymore. It's a lot better that they sell down here as opposed to them selling when it's 10x the price, because again, it would take 10 times as much volume in order to meet that selling pressure, to meet that demand. So like I said, I'm trying to buy OMI really as often as I can. Uh, a bunch of people commenting on the Veterans Day stuff. Um, Veterans Day is wild. It is very, very wild. So yeah, that's where I see on OMI. The other things that I see, 654,000 volume. Again, there's not a lot of volume. Why? There might be a bit of sell and buy pressure, but there's not a ton. There's really next, like, if you didn't know what OMI was and you looked at this, that looks like a penny stock. That looks like something that there's not a lot of volume at, and they're correct. There is not a lot of volume. Eventually, that will change. Now, be advised, this could not change for 6 to 8 months, or it can change in 2 to 3 months. We don't know. All I know is hopefully this uh, keeps down here until like December 2nd or 3rd when I can buy a bunch. I like I said, I'll buy like 5, 8 million. I'll get up. I'll go right past 180. Um, yeah, that it's possible I even go past 190 or 185. We'll keep you posted. Anyway, we do have a bunch of stuff to go over today. What was yesterday? Did I do anything yesterday? What did I have yesterday? Okay, so I had the Marvels thing yesterday. Did I do anything yesterday? No, I didn't come back and do anything. So we'll go and did I? Let's go on YouTube and let's see. We'll go to the account over here and we'll go to the lives. Oh, I did a live stream a day ago talking about the Marvels, but that was on like Friday. That wasn't on. It is now Saturday. Also, if everyone can go and smash that like button, that is a free way to help support the channel. Non-free ways are Patreon and smashing that super thanks button down below. That'd be super great. Anyway, we'll go over the stuff that has happened since then. Oh shoot, there's a lot of stuff that has happened since then. All right, we talked about Earth 2. We had talked about the stuff. Open is that account. There's a Comey talking in Telegram. There's a Comey talking this, right? yeah, someone from there's a bunch of people selling. And again, a buddy of mine said, listen, who cares why some certain people are selling? OMI doesn't need a bull run. Once we get users on Veve and knowing what OMI is used for, people won't care if it's a bull market or not. It's simple, just math. Most other tokens that a lot of people are buying really have no utility. Like OMI back in the day, and now OMI does have utility, and they'll continue to gain more. Also, I do want to note, if you are here for GrumpyCat, listen, it's not really public yet, or I guess for anyone if they want to listen. There's a big wallet that just bought some GrumpyCat, and there's going to be more. I promise you, there's going to. I know there's going to be more. So yeah. Moving on. All right. I guess we'll go over Veterans Day. Veterans Day for me is, and again, I'll get into the VV news in a second. Veterans Day is something that has a lot of meaning to me, just because, as most veterans, how they feel, how they're doing, and they'll give you a really sarcastic answer, and they'll really give you an answer that goes and says, "Oh yeah, I don't have a, this is my 13th reason," or this is a, depending on what they did, depending on when they served, depending on how long they served. But anytime I go and see another veteran, whether it's a friend or whether it's someone that I meet at a pizza place, which I did the other night, I was asked, "How are you? Like, how are you doing?" And a lot of times they'll blow past it and they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm doing fine, doing whatever." But sometimes, they get real, and they'll be like, "Hey, listen, man, it's been a couple rough years." And I'm like, "Okay, well, tell me about it." Which I really don't have time for, but a lot of times it's, you do what you got to do to be able to go and try to lessen the suffering in the world. Whether it's a stranger, I actually had a dream last night about, I guess early this morning, technically. It was about, there was somebody to my right, there was somebody to my left asking me about something. It was actually about NFTs, but the reason I bring this up, someone to my right saying, "Hey, this is going on. This is going on. What do you think we should do? We should fight, right? We should do this." And but he kind of glossed over the other option, which was peace. And then I very very proudly, I'm proud I answered this in my dream. I said, grabbed him by the shoulders, said, "Listen, we should make love, not war." And that was it. And obviously, it's easier said than done. Obviously, there's a lot of people that should be taken out or at least incarcerated, because but you have to really do it. You have to really do it intelligently, because if like there are bad people out there that really need to be taken out, but if the if the fallout of you taking out, let's say, five really bad people, if you accidentally kill like 10 civilians, like four of which are children, three of which are innocent, two of which nobody cares about, okay, well, you're going to get more enemies. You're going to get a lot more people joining Hamas or joining whoever terrorists, as opposed to eradicating them. So it's really really difficult. A lot of people go and say like, oh, we should do this, do that, and a lot of people really don't understand the consequences of that. And that's about as difficult a situation as you can get, especially when a lot of terrorists use the kids and innocents as human shields. Anyway, I'm getting really really way off topic here. But again, Veterans Day, I'm coming back from a big day of eating and drinking, so excuse me if I get a little off topic. Again, ask me anything. Moving on here. So I do want to go and go over a post that I did go talk about yesterday, but it is important, I think. It is Alfinius saying, Veve team are the largest holders of OMI, and it is in their best interest for the price of OMI to rise. They're also a legit company, building and bridging a completely new product within a new and unregulated industry, with massive partnerships and licensor agreements. So that being said, it's probably better to let things progress a little more organically with the app and that brand than just pumping OMI. They could have listed and still could list OMI on any exchange that they want with all partnerships and connections they have. Think about it, LOL. OMI will be listed on most, if not all, popular exchanges when the time is right. It's inevitable. What's wild to me is how people don't see it already lined up. There aren't any projects in Web3 space that have as many partnerships uh, and license agreements than Akomi and Veve team, and they are some of the largest and most popular brands in the world. If any new token being listed on major exchanges is going to make noise and break into traditional world news, it will be OMI, because of all the brands and IP that are associated with Akomi, Veve, that everyone in the world already knows all about. But yeah, the team wants OMI to be valuable, and the last thing they want to do is abandon the token. Agreed. Preach. 100,000%. We have MK Azaraba saying, in this big world of Veve, it is not easy to collect whole sets with the same mint number. But when you succeed, the joy is indescribable. Agreed. I've done that with the Luke Skywalker NFTs, and I've also done that with the number 41 Veve logos. He says, Dear Veve fam, let me introduce you to Tokimondo mint number 83 set. And he tags all of the really cool people, and shout out to Clever Jerk for the photo. He has got the Kaiju Chameleon, Kaiju Toki Gold, Kaiju Tokimon, King Dose, and then the other two, which I don't have the names for over there, at number 83. So, really good times. Slum Doge Millionaire says one of the biggest meme coins that will surprise everyone in the upcoming bull market will be GrumpyCat coin. He knows what he's talking about. Fanny Carbonell says, I see a lot of negative posts about OMI right now, but seeing things on the bright side, we had told you to wait a little before booking your trip. And last night, the team officially signed to come to Crypto XR, which is a crypto event, my friends. See you there. I cannot wait to see Fanny there. I cannot wait to see everyone in Europe there. I want to go and hug and kiss everyone. And I just want to be like, hey guys, it's going to be okay, which again, they know. So anyway, we're going to go and move on from that. I'm going to move on a little bit. Okay, hang on one second. So somebody shot me a message saying, I look at other tokens like Ape, what have they done? There isn't anything that token is good for except for buying an in-game currency called Mist, which goes directly against the team's promise of being able to use Ape as the in-game token. So I guess a lot of this growth on other tokens has little to do with their progress as of late. And again, OMI is not the only one. In another really interesting bid, we have HoloWow73 saying, my entire House of Cards collection no longer works just as a black canvas. The House of Cards doesn't have a picture, even in the vault. Says, no, this is not a joke. They are just black. It doesn't work in AR, vaults, nothing. Elizabeth, Tubman, Frida. I noticed it a couple days ago when I opened a vault where I have a bunch of my 2D pieces. And again, you see a bunch of really cool things, and then you see a bunch of empty blank spaces. Now, most likely that is just something that Veve has to fix, and they will likely fix it over in the next day or so. So I will keep you posted. Oh, my friends. Oh, sorry. Screenshots of my friends. So finally, as we speculated yesterday, rolling into the weekend is Big Bird and Sesame Street saying, have you heard about the bird? Bird. Bird is the word. So yeah, you really have a really interesting drop coming. Big Bird is a fan favorite. So be advised for Big Bird. In 69? Everyone comment nice down below for the 69. You do happen to have a, in not Omi token, you had, this is what happened. Originally, Big Bird was supposed to go on the Challenger, and Big Bird was supposed to go up into space. The only reason he didn't was because his costume couldn't fit inside the door. So I was like, oh, okay. Big Bird is not going to go into space because he can't fit inside the door. And obviously the Challenger disaster happened. Everyone died, and okay, well, what would have happened if Big Bird would have gone in there? And Sesame Street had said, well, listen, we prepare kids for the real world, and we talk about race, and we talk about creed and religion, we talk about everything. So we would be doing the kids a disservice if we just said, oh yeah, when it exploded, Big Bird just flew out. No, they would have canonically killed Big Bird, and they would have said he was on the Challenger disaster and he died with the astronauts. Okay, well, why? Well, they said that, listen, we can't lie to kids about this. This would have been a, silver lining, a good opportunity to talk to kids about death. And, what they said in, not Modern Family, um, Married with Children, with Al Bundy, who was also in Modern Family. He says to Bud, the one thing about grandparents, Bud, they die. And, that essentially happens. Like they were going to talk to kids about death. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting take that the creators of Sesame Street would have done. But anyway, we're about to get Big Bird. So that'll likely come in the next week or so. And what is also likely going to come is going to be the new Marvel Mighties for the Marvels. This is likely going to be the last one we get for the year. I cannot wait for it. Super excited. Anyway. Suddenly, can't talk about that. Ooh, can't talk about that. So we have this guy named Old Gravy over on the Twitter saying, this week, Standoff Chart and I were lucky enough to mint the #1 rare Funko Iron Man, and we are taking offers. Assuming David buys a secret rare, there are only 4 people who can own a #1 collectible on Veve Official. And let's be honest, gold is fire. Please contact him if interested. It is the gold one. It is the rare. I assume it's probably going to be worth a couple $1,000 right now. How many will there be? I don't know. I don't know this dude's name. This guy's name was Veve and Chill. And Veve and Chill is a very listen, if I did not know anything about Veve and Omi, and I read the first word or the first sentence of his argument saying, Omi is one of the most blatant frauds in crypto, and it puts the Akomi company, and by extension Veve, at unnecessary legal risk. End quote. First sentence. And I was serious. Let's say I was told by a friend to invest in Veve or Akomi, in the Omi token. I'd be like, okay, well, this is not painting a very good picture. Let me do my research. and I would watch videos on the founders. I'd watch videos of the YouTubers. I would watch videos of everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything at all. I would not continue to read his post until I found that out for myself, saying that they're frauds. Okay, well, a friend of mine suggested that I invest in Veve and OMI. I know, I don't keep stupid friends. I keep my circle exceedingly small. So for somebody to express that, like, hey, I've not only invested in Veve and OMI and you should too, I'd be like, okay, I will take them seriously. And maybe I don't do research. Maybe I just throw in a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 to it. But maybe I do say, hey, maybe my friend's smart. There might be something here. Let me do some research and see what my confidence level is. There was a video the other day somebody sent me. It's like, hey, you need to watch this. And like one of the first lines that they talk about the OMI development, like the OUP article, like all of the things that it's ready to do in the development roadmap. And they're like, well, this just seems confusing. I'm going to ignore it. And I was like, okay, this video is freaking stupid because they're ignoring a very large piece of the token. And if I were to go and find that, I would be like, you can't ignore such an extensively researched and well thought out, PowerPoint presentation and what they're going to do with their token and the intentions. Like you can't just ignore that. So it's like, okay, this video is stupid. Just as this again, Dr. Stuff went live for like an hour and a half. And then Dr. Stuff said, oh, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Again, he basically had a movie onto why that particular thread was wrong. And it's like, okay, well, uh, he's explaining it eloquently enough, as opposed to the person that made this. Um, and it's just like, this is insanely wrong. It's importantly wrong. And again, Dr. Stuff does a really good job of doing that. And he goes and he says many of his points are quite invalid, especially on the fraud points. And there's no way any of this would hold up in court. If by all means, if you want to sue anyone, you can try. It's going to cost you a blue bloody fortune, and you will lose. Again, Dr. Stuff goes over that very, 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 very explicitly. And just to piggyback on really what he said in his like nearly hour and a half video, listen, fraud has nothing to do with delays or timing. You have to establish intent. And again, I've been investing in tech for years, and if you have to establish intent, which this person conveniently ignores throughout his entire argument. Now, with respect to his questions about what regulations have to come in place since the token has launched, and would that change anything, that the answer is none, and that's the problem. That's why Coinbase is suing the SEC, because they are regulating by enforcement instead of establishing guidelines and the regulations around it. Like, oh my God, the SEC started suing companies just left and right. That's what changed, and they did that all while trying to apply things to the Howey test. And the fact that this person either just doesn't understand it or ignores it is just wrong. To date, the SEC has lost I mean, every single one of their meaningful battles in court. And that's cost what, hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayers' money to prove that. Why? Why in the world would VV put a target on their back right now and risk their IP, distancing themselves, from them and having to spend millions to defend themselves? That makes very little sense. So again, I read the first couple of things and I was like, this is stupid. Dr. Stuff already answered it. He's an insanely credible source, and just listen to his rebuttal on that. Like to commit fraud is to deceive, and you can't deceive someone unintentionally. There needs to be intent, and that will never be shown by saying, oh, listen, they delayed longer than expected. Okay, have you ever heard of Tesla? Fuck, has this guy gone and like, does he know what the stock market is? I think we all agree that Vivian Nakomi's communication has not been stellar. um, but saying something is fraud is, again, by all means, you could spend $100 million on lawyers. Your case is never going to stick. Any good lawyer will not take that case because they will lose. That's why I have David on all the time. Other people have David on all the time, so they can talk about certain things. Like I said, to go and cite say that some companies are performing atrocities is importantly wrong. And that's part of the reason why I made this live already as well. In other news, so we have here. I mentioned this the other day, but I do believe it is important, saying the Roblox CEO talks about potentially adding NFTs to the gaming platform, which again is massive, absolutely massive. In other news, we go for the top 500 hodlers of Veve. So let's start off with the bad. Let's start off with the most NFTs sold. And you have Beer Guy 33, which sold 14 NFTs this last week. So obviously going between November 5th and November 11th, selling 14 NFTs. Yeah, what are you doing? Are you selling those to cash out, or are you selling those to buy something else? And we don't know. AQKSA has been on this top 3 list forever, selling another 16 NFTs, but still has 4,700 NFTs. So take that with a grain of salt. And then Prince, that has sold 30 NFTs. It's like, okay, well, Chavez, listen, the top 3 selling accounts have combined a total of 60 NFTs. And that could be a lot if they were super high valued NFTs. And you're right, it could be. But if we look at the most NFTs that were purchased, WC3NTE had purchased 365 by himself. That is 6 times as much as the top 3 sellers put together. So who's really winning this argument here? And then in second place, we have 862F, which had bought 502 NFTs. So even if third place was not enough for you, where they had bought 6 times as much as the top 3 sellers, well, add another 138 NFTs on top of that, and guess what? You have the number 2. And then let's say after you have the number 2, you double that position of 1,004 NFTs, and that is not even as much as the number 1 Bezoj man, who had bought 1,013 Veve NFTs this past week. Get the fudge out of here. And again, most of the fudders, most of the people that are just like, oh, I don't believe in the Veve team. Most of the people saying, I don't have trust in them anymore. They don't meet deadlines. Okay, Elon Musk, who has been in the electric car game for over a decade, had promised the Cybertruck in 2020. It's 3 freaking years later and we don't have it. But that's one of the most valuable companies in the world. So again, most likely the people that are fudding and really super, super negative on Veve, they most likely do not have the money to do what the top players are doing, which is buying a bunch of Veve NFTs. They're buying a bunch of OMI. And again, I'm not here to say you should buy OMI. I'm here to tell you that I'm buying OMI. I'm here to tell you that me and Dashi, we're buying the OMI. Again, I don't know what you should do, but I'm just putting it in perspective. A lot of the fudders and a lot of the people that complain just have never invested in tech. They've never been in tech, and they just, they just don't have the funds. Like anyone has a voice on the internet, and there's a lot of echo chambers. But look at what the top wallets are doing. Look at what the people that are most successful and make the most money, what are they doing? They're buying. And again, it's not just the top. Okay, well, Chavez, that's the top of the top accounts. What about the top 20, 30, 50, 100, 500 accounts? Well, the top 500 accounts, now you need 1,285 NFTs to be in the top 500. And likely within the next 2 or 3 weeks, you will need 1,300 NFTs to be in the top 500. Now, me, I am not that good. I only have a little over 1,500 NFTs. I'm on the top 400, but I don't have a ton. And again, I told you all the other day, I bought Cassie Lang for no reason, whatever, I don't know. And I will be buying Kate Bishop for whatever reason. Again, I don't really know, but when you have a bunch of, not just the top 3, but the top 500 wallets doing nothing but buying, you know which way the wind is blowing. And again, just throwing that out there. So we do have Biscuits going on saying, going off Dr. Stuff's stream and saying, hey, Dr. Stuff, thanks for sharing your perspective. One thing I do have a question on is David forgot to DocuSign, talking about FTX and how he just forgot to DocuSign something, and he says, well, why was the SEC not a problem 1 year ago when he was supposed to sign a DocuSign for FTX? Why was the SEC a problem then and not now? Sounds like a convenient excuse. And, fair question. So Dr. Stuff goes and answers, and he even says, great question, and here are my thoughts. After listening to that AMA, which happened with me, my takeaway was that the exchange was FTX, and since FTX, or at least a portion thereof, was actually regulated by the US, if FTX was willing to list the token, they would feel much safer about it since it would be able to list if it was actually a security. Then FTX went down, and they obviously couldn't list with that exchange anymore. Then the SEC started really cracking down after that. And remember, the SEC didn't really start going gangbuster until after the FTX crash. So it's just something that he had mentioned, and it's just something I wanted to bring up. Anyway, speaking of which, I'm also going to go, and that is the end of the news. It's 35 minutes in, so I'm going to go in and talk about the comments here. Bill Garner saying, I'm now number 285. Let's go. I'm still just in the top 400. I won't be in the top 300 for a long time, but Bill Gardner, I'm very, very excited. I'm really, really happy that you're able to be in that. And I'll join you one day, but also try to get that logo that is for sale. That Queen Veve, she'll be on again in the future, in the next week or so. Go on and say, hey, listen, I like what Queen Veve is doing. She has an unredeemed gold and silver Veve logo card, which is worth thousands of dollars for a couple of reasons. One, because in general, the floor is over 5K. Oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with me. But the floor is over 5K. And on top of that, I was going to hit that start collecting. Okay. On top of that, this is not just any random shit. This is not any random gold and silver logo card that is being redeemed. This gold and silver logo card is something that has the utility unlike the which nobody has ever seen, because you can redeem the Frankenfat, you could redeem the golden monkeys, you can redeem anything that has ever been redeemed if you want. And on top of that, it has the utility of having breakfast or lunch with Al Kahn with 2 friends. And then again, whatever. So again, is it worth 4,500 at the floor? No, I think it is worth thousands more. But again, it is up to you. Dino Dragon says Veve only has IP and OMI has no connection to Veve. So, Deanna Dragon, you may or may not know that OMI is connected with Veve, because if you hold some OMI on the app, you get MCP points. So yes, it does have utility, albeit a very small utility, and the MCP points that you get, technically you can't spend yet, which is coming, but it does have utility. So words matter, and it doesn't have no connection to Veve. It has a small connection to Veve that doesn't really matter at this point, but it does have connection. And again, at the end of Crypto Rain and Dr. Stuff stream, David said that he's going to take care of everyone, meaning that a lot of the OMI utility is coming. And I'm telling you, as me that talks to the team more than anyone, OMI utility is coming. The night is darkest just before the dawn, and I promise you, the dawn is coming. Prince Obi says Veve has one thing that many other NFT companies don't have, which is a fan base. Sure, you have your OpenSea bros, but they're likely a confederacy. Meanwhile, Veve is like highly federalized NFT nation state. Agree very much, Prince Obi. In David Yu, we trust. Agree. But it says we need some whales to buy GrumpyCat coin. Massive opportunity. Listen, it is, and short term, it will likely outperform OMI. If what I think happens in the next 3.5 weeks, I will buy a ton of GrumpyCat coin, and I will buy a ton of OMI. Most of those profits will go into crypto, save like $1,000. Wes is ranked number 141. No heckin' way. Let's see what Wes has got here. He is. Veve West has bought another NFT this week. Oh, no. He's bought 19 NFTs this week at over 2,400 NFTs. Mark Kahn, who will be on Around the Ecomiverse this Monday, is in number 142, and he has 2,413 NFTs. Bought 91 this week. He's an absolute beast. God, what do I have, like 1,500? I don't think I have that much. But yeah, I have 15, like 05 or whatever. A very, very light amount. Thank you for service, Randy. Oh, thanks, buddy. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are a lot more humble than I am, that are a lot better than I am, that would say, like, don't thank me for my service. Thank the people that didn't make it back. And I was like, well, we worked really hard too. So I'll totally accept the thanks. I got a lot of free meals today. I have a lot of free drinks today. The biggest thing was, I think, at Texas Roadhouse. You had the Civil Air Patrol there that were, and as soon as you turn right, into their little corner, you had a couple of Civil Air Patrol being like, "Thank you for your service." Like, oh, you guys checking IDs here? Because whenever you go on base, you have to show your ID. And I was like, oh, here's my ID. And they're like, oh, no, we're just saying thank you for the service. Like, oh, thanks. That's really cool. I appreciate it. And they had a bunch of people be like, hey, thank you for service. Thank you so much. Like, oh, that's great. And then I got a free meal voucher. Like, oh, this is also great. This is even better. I mean, but what a lot of vets do take precedent, and I guess Memorial Day is about the ones we lost, really, and this is for active duty or people that have been active duty. Reservists are cool, guards cool, especially if they deploy, especially if they've been activated. If you're active duty at any point, you're definitely family. Oh yes, cheers, Prince Sobi. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I've never marched in the parade. The parade is just because if you march in the parade, that's precious food hours that you don't get. I want to eat as much as possible, so I got to catch up. You do, Bill Gardner. You do. Real Chendi Revez. Thank you for your service, my imposter. Where is that? Where is that picture from? Why do I look so mean? Why do I look so? Why do I look like that? But yeah, true. Right, number 110, Charles Aceto. I'm still buying, and I'm still bullish. Dude, Charlie D. Let's see where you're at. You said 110. Oh wow, okay. You bought 38 more NFTs this week at 2760. That's amazing. Oh, I have a buddy of mine texting me right now. I haven't messaged him in a while. Trying to help kids in need, but they're all racist. Let me send him clipboard of the come hang. Okay. I'll tell him to come hang. He's a cool dude. Oh God, who is this? Sorry, I just gotta see this text real quick. Who the heck are you? No, oh my God, can I leave this freaking group? Leave the group, leave, okay. Sometimes people add me to group chats and I'm just like, listen guys, I can't. Randy, after watching the Marvels last night, I had to load up on Comics for the Future. Oh, there's a couple of characters you should load up on too. Somebody's daughter. You should definitely load up on them. And look. Hello there. Oh, General Darth Chaos. What's a better buy right now? GrumpyCat or OMI? So, short term is probably going to be GrumpyCat. OMI will deliver. OMI will deliver on everything that it promised. However, it's going to take a while. It's going to take several months, and Grumpy Cat is not going to take that long. It's got a bunch of things happening, most likely a lot sooner than Omi's doing. Anyway, always be a better. Well, no. Short term, I do think Omi can, or I do think Grumpy Cat will definitely outperform short term. I bought Grumpy when you first introduced it. I was down 70%. Oh well, I'm down right there with you. I put, I don't know how much you put in. I put in 7,000 at 7,000. When it was $7 million market cap. I put in another 400 at like a $3 million market cap or 2.95, whatever. And now it's under a $2 million market cap. And I want to buy more, and I will buy more in the next couple of weeks. What is Grumpy Cat? Grumpy Cat it started off as a meme token. Ooh, 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 we got our man over here. We got our boy, Dr. Stuff. Hey friend, how are you?
Hey, happy gaming.
Oh, thanks, brother. Yeah, yeah. Are you getting a little echo on your side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me figure
You
out
figure out what's
Do you have me playing in the background? So sometimes people are like, oh, I have it playing in the background, and sometimes that's why.
Let me
Yeah. Dude, Dr. Stuff is so awesome. I heckin' love that guy. So yeah, it started off as a meme coin, and then it had some legal issues because the original Grumpy Cat, like the owner of the original Grumpy Cat, is like, I don't like crypto. Crypto's a scam. This is a scam. I like, well, listen, we just like cats that are grumpy, and you don't own cat dwarfism, so you can't tell us what to do. And it was really an anti-authority thing, anti-authoritarian, and just like, we can do what we want. You don't, you can't own words. If Donald Trump can't go and patent the words, you're fired. You can't go and own Grumpy Cat. So let's see if we can get Dr. Stuff's better. Yeah.
I'm gonna get
headphones.
Okay, come in. So if people can't own words, if Donald Trump can't own, what do you call it? If you can't own, you're fired. You can't own a photo of something. You can't own, there's like 200 different types of cat dwarfism, or in dwarfism in general, and you can't own all of them. You can't even own one of them. That's not right. So we hired a tier 1 lawyer, for that, and we got the approval, won the case, saying, hey, this is something that is we can do on our own. We can do whatever we want, and we won. And then the community really rallied around that, and I really like rebels. I really like people that are underdogs, and I really like, and we had a lot of FUD. Maybe not as much FUD as OMI, or not as much FUD as Earth 2, but there was a decent amount. And even like a good friend of mine that had some common sense was like, oh, I heard about this as a scam. I was like, oh no, you definitely heard wrong. I know the devs. I'm one of the ones working on the token and utility, and one of the ones that are working on the comic. I'm not working on the play to earn portion of it, but I am working on it. I wouldn't put my name on anything that's a scam. And again, it's going to have utility. It's going to have a play to earn type of thing, play to burn type of thing. Multiple forms of utility. There will be a comic book coming out. There's going to be a couple of people that are working on it that you wouldn't expect. So I really like it. And Custori's fetch one saying realistic price for OMI 75 cents. Oh yeah, totally. Again, the pendulum, the super negativity around this, it is not from anyone that is a super classically good investor. All the negativity around this is not from anyone. I really don't mean to play this, but I feel like I have to. They're not from anyone with a super high IQ. They're not from anyone that is super successful in life. They're mostly people that are look. if it comes with anything, whether you have people that are in, politics, or people that are in, different sets of science, that there's going to be people that, okay, who's in your camp? Do you have a bunch of losers in your camp, people that are not successful, and people that have never done anything right in their life? Or are the people in your camp people that are super successful, and people that are crazy intelligent, and people that are, um, well, just in general, good at what they do? I do have to try something before Dr. Stuff gets back here, because I do have a shoot. All right, hang on. Oh, shoot. I do have to focus on something before I go and double shoot. Okay, we're going to try something else here. Okay, we'll get to other comments. Charlotte saying exactly. Well, like I said, GrumpyCat is really good for all the reasons I said. MI says, clearly not a fraud, but will they find a way to give sufficient utility without running afoul of the FCC? Yeah, that should be very easy to do. Like I said, they are moving full freight with utility, and the utility that they're moving towards is very, very simple. This is typically not something that is. Hold on. Yeah, what they're doing is not, is to definitely not run afoul. And again, moving full freight with something means that they're very exceedingly confident about the things that they're doing. It's not just Puddin' Cheeks and Reese that are working on this anymore. This is something that they have hired multiple workers for. They're likely paying hundreds of thousands, if not, seven figures per year for these types of things. Like I said, this is something that they are not taking lightly, and I'm pretty excited for it. A speed decision would have given the team the green light to let OMI rip. Well, again, they don't want to go and say like, hey, listen, just because XRP won means that we're going to win, and we're going to put a target on our backs for this. You don't want to put a target on your back for this. You don't want to go and say, hey, I have this that we want to do. It's just not something that is going to be prudent. Why do something that's going to put a target on your back for the SEC to open an investigation? Could Veve go and fight it with a bunch of the money that they have? Yeah, absolutely. But why would you want to? You don't want to do that. That is not something that you want to do. That is a very poor decision. But again, it's just my opinion there. Moving on here. Happy Veterans Day for me and Rita Baby. Thank you for your service. Respect, bro. Oh, dude, thank you so much. Yeah, like I said, Veterans Day means a lot to me. I have a bunch of friends, super happy to go and spend the day with friends and spend the day with people that I love. And I really feel bad because not everyone gets that. Not everyone is able to go and have the the confidant or the people that they relate to, and I feel like a lot of these are parents. It must be real. In my experience, the people that I used to live with, like 15, 20 years ago, were people that really didn't have a lot of friends. They spent their nights alone, and it just must be really lonely not to have that. Is that better?
I'm nervous to talk.
I'm nervous to talk. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
There's like this super
Can you-
delay.
There's super delay though.
Delay?
Can you hear the delay?
Whenever you talk, I hear it almost right away.
Oh, weird. It comes back to me like
Weird.
3
It comes
seconds
back
later.
to me like 3 seconds later.
Oh, whoa. I see it, like whenever I see your mouth move, I hear it right away.
I'm gonna try.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why can't I hear you?
Why can I hear you?
You can't hear me?
Dude.
Yeah.
Randy, what's
Randy,
going
what's
on,
going
bro?
on, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. This I don't know why this is happening.
I'm gonna try one more.
I'm gonna try one more time.
And
It's
time to be.
one more
I don't
time.
know.
One more time.
gonna
I'm just gonna leave and come back. Let's try this.
Yeah, man.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah.
Well, Randy,
Well,
like,
Randy, like, is it interesting?
Hold
Hold
Hang on. I heard her.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
I can always hear you. Yeah.
But can you hear the echo?
But can you hear the echo?
No, I cannot hear the echo.
All right. Well, let's just.
All right.
chat
Well,
then.
let's just chat then.
Let's deal with the
Let's
echo.
deal with the echo.
Okay, cool beans. Sorry you have to deal with that. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for the Veterans Day wishes, and just being you, and thank you for that. You were live for like an hour 15 before. I watched a little bit of it, but I also feel like whether it's a video or whether it's a post, why do a reaction to the whole post when like the first 3 sentences are just blatantly false and lies? Why go and do a reaction to the whole post when you can be like, hey, this is dumb right from the get-go?
Because what
Because what happens?
They sit there and
They
say,
sit there and say, argument.
and so you've
And
got
so
to
you've got to get time and
because you're discrediting maybe some of them were valid points. Now I can't hear my echo. I don't know what you did, but now I don't hear an echo.
I muted my mic. Maybe that happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyways, I know that there was a lot of people who did read the whole post, and people are going to get out of it what they want. If they were looking to feel validated for their frustrations, then they looked at that and said, oh yeah, look, this is all true because it validates my things. And I'm not going to take away from the frustration. I say that in the video. But at the same time, when someone makes these massive accusations, right, one of the top frauds in the space, blatant frauds, right? I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that. I mean, yeah, that first sentence, it was more sensationalistic. I think that they were just trying to grab attention. And then he walked it back, right? So I did this video, and then he makes this response, and he walks back a ton of the stuff, right? And he's like, well, I what I meant was one of the top 5 to 10% of the projects that I've seen. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not what you said though, right? Like, and words matter. So that's why I said what I said. If you had said it differently, then I would have addressed it differently. But I was addressing what you said. So go ahead, walk it back. That's fine. And then he changed it to a lot of like, I feels, I believe, as opposed to this is this, right? This is fraud. I believe that it's fraud, right? Like there's a difference. And then he's like, oh, like I didn't mean it in like the legal way. And I'm like, well, I don't know what other way you really mean it, right? I mean, it was kind of laughable. And then I had some people being like, I don't think that you did what you thought you did. And I was like, well, I feel like I did a pretty good job of outlining his comments and objectively pointing and offering support to why they were not valid, right? But that doesn't take away from the validity of being frustrated, which people are. People are frustrated. I'm frustrated at some of these things too, right? As an OMI holder, like I get that part of it, but to call them fraudsters, to call it a rug, to call them scammers doesn't help anything. And all it does is it discredits any other opinions that you have, right? Because then people stop listening to you. They're like, okay. And it's funny because they're like, well, I'm just going to slot you in the Veve can do no wrong bucket. And I'm like, did you watch the whole video? Because I brought up concerns. About some of the things they said and why they say that and why they backtracked and how long it's been. Like, Veve's not perfect, but no company is perfect. And it's funny because a lot of people, they don't have a broad understanding of the space as a whole. Maybe they're in 5 projects or something, and they feel like, hey, I know what I'm talking about because I'm in the Bored Ape ecosystem. And I'm like, that's great. So that's 2 projects, Veve and Bored Ape.
But you mean the Bored Ape ecosystem that they were told they could use their ape coin for, and now they can't use the ape coin for that specific thing?
But that doesn't, they excuse that away, which is so funny, right? They hold Veve to one standard, but then they don't hold another project to this standard too, because it's Web3 and because I can buy and sell it on OpenSea and I can have it in my own wallet and stuff. And I'm like, you got to maintain consistency. Or at least try.
I feel like that's such a weak argument because you have Hero and you have Todd McFarlane that can be traded on OpenSea. It's interoperable and it doesn't really help their price at all. yeah, I'm glad that they can do that, and hopefully that sets fire under Veve for that. But again, interoperability doesn't mean that your stuff will moon.
I think that initially, had Veve been interoperable during like the big NFT bull run, I think that definitely could have pumped prices on things. Um, but it didn't happen. And it is what it is. And I think that this is the thing that I know that people are frustrated about, but Veve is one of the few people who are truly being cautious and trying to be proactively compliant with what's coming down the road. They were one of the first ones to do KYC. People were complaining about that, and they're like, "I don't have to KYC on OpenSea," and I'm like, "Just wait, just wait."
Just wait.
You see what like OpenSea's volume is. You see like all the stuff on there is. I think Veve has either more volume or their stuff isn't down as much. I remember making a post saying like, "Hey, remember what I said in 2021? Or Veve doesn't need OpenSea. OpenSea needs Veve." Again, just because you can't KYC doesn't mean that, or just because you don't have to KYC doesn't mean that your stuff is going to be successful.
Well, not only that, but it doesn't mean that it's okay to not KYC. Like that's the point, right? Is there's a lot of talk in Congress about that, how they think that money laundering is going on in the NFT space, right? And it's specifically OpenSea, and I think one of the reasons that OpenSea actually isn't doing well is because blurs come in and change the name of the game, and so OpenSea is trying to pivot. So a lot of activity's gone to blur, but yeah, it's been an interesting day, man. I've never felt so motivated to go out there and like address a post before, but I was, yeah, I was like, wow, I think that this is like, there at the time there had been like 14,000 impressions, and I'm like, this is going viral pretty
Pretty
quickly,
quickly.
and I want
And
to
I want to
address
address.
and get the counterpoints out there so that people can understand and at least listen to a different point of view. And if they don't want to agree with me, or they don't believe what I'm saying, okay. But at least there's something else out there that actually refutes a lot of those points.
I'm really glad you did, because I was when that was made, I was like in the middle of like a meal or like karaoke, and now that has like 50,000 impressions, and I'm really surprised that some of the people that liked it, because how do you like something that calls a company run by David and Dan, and a lot of the people that liked it have met David and Dan. How do you like something that calls them scammers and frauds? Like that's and I know that it really doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, like it doesn't really matter, but at the same time, like so a lot of other people, because it's going so viral, they'll see it, and they'll see who liked it, and they'll see who are, and I feel like that type of thing matters. But maybe it doesn't matter. What are your thoughts on the people that interacted with it or agreed with it or liked it, just silently agreeing?
I mean, I think that they may not have necessarily agreed with everything that was posted. We don't know, right? When you just do a like, there could be one point in that entire thing that they were like, well, I agree with this. Um, but again, when people are frustrated, and then someone who so eloquently posts a lot of things that they're feeling, even though a lot of it wasn't true, right? Some of it was. Some of it, like I was like, hey, I don't disagree with this statement. I don't disagree with this statement, right? But a lot of it was false. But like they're willing to just go with that narrative because it makes them feel better because they're frustrated, right? And so they feel like this person's championing their cause, and they may ignore some of those things, but yeah, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's okay, right? I don't mind if he had just said, hey, here's how I feel. I feel like this is happening and this is why. But that's not how it was first presented, right? It was like, this is a fraud. They've done these things and this hasn't happened, and because of this is fraudulent. These are scammers, right? Like they have intentionally defrauded you, and there are legal ramifications because of that. Basically was the post, right? And then once I refuted all of those things, now he's like, well, I still feel like there's fraud. I still feel like that. But I'm like, okay, there's a difference between you feel it and you're saying this is fraud, and one of the greatest frauds in the entire industry.
So this was definitely done impetuously, and because it was done impetuously, a lot of the arguments were very, they were not tenable. They were not easily defended, and I feel like a lot of people when they try to go and make these things, it's because for the past couple months they've maybe tried to ingratiate or inveigle themselves to the team. They say, "Oh, I've been a supporter because I've done X, Y, and Z," and then they make such claims like this, and then it's done out of just frustration, and it's not. So, what are the good arguments that this person made? Out, figuring 75-80% of that is just feelings of frustration and not thought, but not having any good thought into it. What are some of the good points that they've made that you might want to address?
Sure. Let me pull it up again here. I just am laughing just a little bit at the, yeah, man. Let's see. So he says creating the token for the Veve app was not necessary. That's true. They didn't have to, but a lot of companies that were in the crypto space in any way, shape, or form use that as a form to raise capital, as opposed to like a private venture capital raise. So true.
I mean, the reason I think why they did that, and it might not be the reason why, but I think they've certainly justified themselves as far as like a je ne sais quoi. Like they've had this thing that, okay, yeah, they might have done that, but they've also done something that no other NFT company has done. And even though that might not be the original reason for it, they've certainly backed up their words by having the most successful project in the space. But maybe that's not a good argument.
I don't think it's a good argument to say like that's why it's okay that they raised the token, whether they did or not. Like, I mean, he's just saying that having a token for the app wasn't necessary, and I agree with that. Okay, that's okay, but they did, so move on, right? Like it wasn't necessary, but they did it. So what's your point, right? And so then he's like, the primary reason the OMI token was created, sold, and promoted to the public to raise funds. Obviously, I agree with that. That's like all of the projects out there, all of the crypto projects. That's how they did it. And at the time, the SEC wasn't doing anything about it, right? They were going after ICOs, initial coin offerings, like, and in 2017, targeting those that dude, this cough been with me for like a week and a half now. But so to sit there and try and in this statement they go and attack and say, hey, Veve made all these promises and this is why this is fraud and this was the security and they should have known all these things. And it's like, no, the SEC was busy elsewhere and there was no indication that what they were doing had any issues with it, right? So so I agree with that statement, right? Let's see.
I just feel like the entire Radamonta that he had ignored any munchcot that the team had, and they just painted them as people that just had avarice, and they just people that had a bunch of greed, and that's really not them. If you've ever met the team, and no, obviously I'm a little biased because I've met them multiple times, talked to them fairly frequently, but I know that most people don't have that opportunity, but I think to completely ignore that is a little silly.
Sure, and look, when you're trying to make an argument, you tend to ignore the things that refute your argument, right? And I think that is done intentionally several times in this statement here. So I agree with where he says, and here you might think defraud is a strong word, implying intent or malice. And I'm like, yep, I agree. When you're using defraud, I do believe that is a strong word, that you are implying intent or malice. So I agree that, and again, but he tries to soften these terms here that he's since walked back on, and now is saying, I feel, or I think, right, or I believe, as opposed to this is fraud. Let's see.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that the team's unassailable, but I feel like a lot of these people, especially him, are using these prods to use these statements to kind of prod at the team, and I feel like that's really kind of unfair, especially when they they don't see everything, and they're really too busy to respond to everyone.
So I guess when I say I agree with what he's saying, so like he's like, look, we are now 3 years out from the launch of the app, and OMI still has zero use cases, which is factually incorrect. And it's funny because I point this out, and then he's like, oh, like you're kidding yourself if you consider that utility. And I'm like, well, no, like you're grasping at straws to argue that that's not. I'm not saying it's strong utility, but by the definition of the word, it is utility. Now, the fact that you can get these MCP points that don't do anything, it's not good utility yet, right? But the team has already described like what they're trying to build in the app to make it so that they can utilize the MCP points. So like I agree. I guess what I agree with is some of the points he's making about the frustrations. Now he uses these frustrations to then try to demonstrate that the team is committing fraud because the utility hasn't come yet. And that's where I disagree. I agree with the frustrations about we don't have a lot of utility after 3 years of launching the app, right? Like that's frustrating. We were told interoperability was coming in 2021. Hasn't happened. That's frustrating. But also there could be reasons as to why that's the case. That doesn't take away from the frustration. It doesn't take away from the fact that I wish that the team was a little bit more transparent in their communication with things. But that again doesn't rise to the level of fraud that you're accusing them of here.
So I again agree. I don't think the team has any time ever used any type of subterfuge or chicanery, but I think the assertions that are cast upon the team, I think they might be, this person might be liable for any type of lawsuit. Do you think, and again, not that Veve would, they're really too busy to deal with these type of tiny men, but do you think that if Veve wanted to, they could really slap this person with a lawsuit because of the assertions cast upon them?
That's not my area of expertise, like slander or libel, honestly. So like I couldn't opine on whether what that person said really met the definition. I do know, and this is where I think that they pivoted, because in my video I do say like, hey, if you're expressing an opinion, I think such and such, this is my opinion, then that's not necessarily like it's hard. It is hard to then like prove like the slander or meet that threshold. And that's where I think in the walk back, where all of a sudden it turns into more like I feel, I believes, right, type of verbiage there, as opposed to this is fraud, right? Because that first statement, I mean, they could go after him, right? And I walked through like the 9 elements basically of trying to demonstrate fraud. You have to meet all 9, right? And I walked through several of them and disprove those points where I'm like, doesn't meet this. Oh, and it doesn't meet this one. So on several accounts, it doesn't. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to do any good for Veve to go after him at all. You know, I don't think it hurts Veve's opinion. I think that the people who liked it or listened to it are the ones who are frustrated anyways. But that's where I came in my video, or did my video, and my response was for the people who are like, oh, should I be concerned? I don't know much about this, you know, and causing fear, unnecessary fear about these things, that there was at least another voice of a counter opinion there that they could listen to and then decide for themselves.
Agreed. So, you know, a lot of people call me, you know, a little bit of a moon boy and say I'm Pollyannic about certain things. Again, based on this person's concerns, like legitimate concerns, how much did it shake you? You'd be like, oh, hey, some of these concerns are legit, and it shook me like 5%, and maybe I'm 5% less Pollyannic or bullish, or is it like, you know, most of these are wrong, so I'm really not going to take a lot of these concerns to heart, and it didn't shake me at all?
Literally, his or her, I don't know if it's he or she, the author's comments did not shake me at all. And like over time, the more I was reading, the more I just felt like, unfortunately, they continued to discredit themselves in their arguments and the statements that they were making. So, you know, so here's what's interesting. So one of the things we talked about, Tesla, I use Tesla as this example, right? And and said, okay, well, Elon, hey man, where's my freaking car that's gonna ride share for me while I sleep? Is that fraud? Now, Crypto Bro just shared a tweet where some people have sued Elon. As of September, there's a class action lawsuit against it, right? That this was just around the corner, even though like knowingly knew that was not the case, and so it was misrepresented. And I said, that's great. It's one thing to file a lawsuit; it's another thing to win that lawsuit. So I'll be interested, and if that goes through and wins in like 3 years, whenever that actually goes to court and is decided, and Veve hasn't ended up with any of this utility and a lot of this FUD has gone away, then I'll be concerned. I'll see like, man, maybe there's a case here, but no, it didn't shake me. I don't like the things that shakes me. The thing that shakes me is the lack of communication. But just because of a lack of communication, if they're building and things, that lack of communication isn't enough for me to be shaken enough to like stop from the project necessarily. But it does concern me that, I mean, they've been around for so long and that communication still isn't very good.
Yeah, there's all the arguments seem quite visceral, and I'm glad you brought up Elon Musk, because I think one of the kind of arguments he had was like, I think he had brought up Tesla, but and maybe you could make the argument that, well, Veve's been doing this for several years, a couple years before they had brought out the product, and now a couple years, afterwards. But Elon Musk has been working at Tesla, becoming CEO, I think in like 2008, didn't put out a product till like a year or two later, and from like 2013 to 2019, the stock price was absolutely flat. From 2013 for like 6 years, it had stayed the same. And it was only until people realized, oh, hey, this is the way the world is going. They're actually profitable. And the reason they weren't profitable was because they were using their profits to build other stuff. And that's really a lot what Veve's doing as well. I feel like they're taking a lot of their profits and they're using it to get more licenses. And they're using it to go and hire more people for not just the OMI token, but the MCP points as well. And I feel like a lot of this is really just being ignored. And they're just going and saying, hey, we're not going to, we're going to cherry pick certain data, and we're going to ignore these things and exemplify these things, which inherently don't matter. But again, let me know if I'm being a little moon boyish here and be like, hey, you're kind of making a little too much excuses for Veve, and maybe this comparison is not fair. Let me
know. I don't know. I think that I'm not here to always defend the company, and no company is perfect. And that's the thing that I guess I just don't know what people expect, man. Things are changing all the time in this space. And I've just been in so many projects. I mean, I have projects that we sign an agreement on the tokenomics, right? That we raise them, that we pay the money, pre-seed investment. And a day before the launch, they're like, oh, by the way, we're changing this. And, and if you don't like it, then we'll just give you your money back. And it's just like, and sure, could we try to file a lawsuit and go after that? And it's like, what does that accomplish? And I'm not saying that that's okay. And just because these companies do that, if Veve makes a mistake, that we should look the other way. I don't think we should. And so, but the things that it's hard to understand is we don't get to see everything that's happening behind closed doors. And what happens is then people make assumptions. I make assumptions. And some of my assumptions, so I'm at least trying to extrapolate information and say, well, I think that this could be the case. It may not be the case, but this could be the case based on all of this other information that I'm extrapolating to at least make this argument. But some people just make these wild assumptions. I'm like, where do you even start on a basis for that argument? Right? So, look, this is what happens a lot of times is anytime that you defend a company for any reason where someone is upset and you're just like, yeah, I'm just not as upset. You're all of a sudden a moon boy because of that. And it's like, well, no, I'm trying to apply logical sense to it. And I'm like, it's funny to me because like, although it would suck if all of my OMI went to zero, like I'm still quite set for this bull run. if it happens. And and if OMI went to zero, again, I wouldn't be happy, but I feel like I'm still positioned to do very, very well. And so I still look at this and I try to remain as objective as possible because I don't want to lose my money and I don't want other people to lose money, you know? And so I provide those points and I say, here's what I'm doing. And I try to be objective. And I do think that there is some bias in the way that I analyze things. Like I recognize that I am biased towards Veve. Part of it is because I've met the team; they're really likable, and so it's tough to try to attribute malice, right, and ill will in the actions of these individuals that I've met. But I have to try to step away from those feelings and say, okay, what are other people saying who don't like the project? And is there something that they're saying that I need to be aware of? Right. So again, like I don't block the fudders unless they're toxic people who just attack people instead of attack arguments.
So, kind of piggybacking on your thought, a lot of the fudders are people that straight up lie. How much do you think of it is rancor, and how much do you think is just begrudging emotion? Percentage wise.
When you say rancor, begrudging emotion, like define that a little bit more, like the difference between those two.
So rancor would be like how much do you think people are bitter, or like jealous, and then how much do you think is it, I guess envy, we're not where they're like it's not, yeah, and yeah, so bitter, they're salty, and what is like they're oh, I want what you have, essentially.
I haven't seen a lot of people who I feel like the tweets are, I want what you have, to be honest. I think that people made decisions based on statements that Veve made and that they're frustrated that those haven't come to play. And they think that because those haven't come to play, the token isn't doing as well as it should. And that's why they're frustrated, right? That's just been the tweets that I've come across, and maybe there are some that you've seen that really are just like Vivi's so successful in what they're building, and some of the projects I'm in, they're not as successful. But it, I just haven't seen a lot of that, and it's tough for me to support that when most projects are pumping right now, and OMI's not, the token's not. But so again, like there can definitely be frustration there, and I get that. But there's also an understanding that, man, this space, there's still a lot of things that are very unclear, and for a company who's trying to do it right because of all of the IP that they work with, right? So many of these other companies are just small little fish, and if they go away, so be it, right? But Veve is really trying to build something super long term, and they believe in the future of digital collectibles. So they're saying we're trying to do it right, and if that means that we've got to play it slow, so be it, because that's going to protect us, that's going to protect our IP, and that's going to protect the token and the people who invested in the token in the long term. Is in that, like, hopefully it makes it so that the SEC never comes after us, and we're fine with that, right? Compared to the tokens that the SEC has come after that have gone to zero, that have folded because they didn't have the funds to defend themselves in court.
So I don't mean for this to be like a, like oh, what's that called, where you shine a light on someone and be like, where were you on the night of, the 13th?
Like a spotlight.
Yeah, I don't mean this to be like an interrogation, but I every person must concede that, I feel like you're a bit smarter than me, so I do like to ask you a lot of questions about what you think about things, because I trust a lot of your thoughts really more than my own. Also, I just came back from Veterans Day, so I'm very lit right now. So I want to ask you one last question, and then we'll talk about whatever you want. I think it's going to be kind of hard to answer, percentage wise, and how much of, within your experience, how much of the people that you interact with are people that are just curious, and they're willing to learn, versus people that are jaded and have some type of dyscalculia, and just can't grasp certain things.
Is this specific to Veve or just people I encounter in the crypto space?
Start with Veve and then extrapolate from there.
Um, I've noticed that, interestingly enough, there is a subset of people who are fudders, and they just want the world to burn, and so they're not logical, and that's a smaller I would say a very small subset. There's probably like 10 individuals that I constantly see, and like they always jump on any FUD train that they can, right? And they're attacking individuals and they're laughing and being like, ha ha ha, you guys are all idiots. Those are the toxic people, and they don't care about the truth at all, right? And what I mean by that is they never applaud Veve when Veve does something good, or or like, hey, this is a step in the right direction. Hey, well done, right? They don't. They're nowhere to be found. But it's, if there's any FUD whatsoever, all of a sudden they pop out of the woodwork, right, out of the little dumpsters and stuff. Um, they're grandma's basements, and bam, they're keyboard warriors going at it again. Like, let me show you how dumb you are. And I'm like, why are you even here? Why are you here? And honestly, if you hate this project so much and we're all dumb for doing this, like, why are you here? And it's just that they just need some sort of attention, and apparently they can't get it anywhere else. So that's a small subset of people. Then I think that there are people who are jaded and they're frustrated, and I think that they are a little bit less willing to hear something that doesn't go their way. But just today there was this great comment that they were like, I appreciate your thoughts. I'm not happy with where OMI is going, but we don't need all of these lies on top of the frustration. And I was like, there we go, right? There's someone who can admit and be like, that was frustrating. I listened to your arguments, feel like they make sense. And I don't appreciate someone coming out here and trying to present something as factual when it's not. Let's just present the frustrations as they are, and address that, right? So that's a bigger percentage of people that I feel like are frustrated, a little bit less willing. But here's the interesting thing. I feel like there is a large section, like the large majority in the middle, where they will listen to both sides, and they're in both spaces, right? They're in the Moonboy spaces, they're in the FUD spaces. They're just trying to educate themselves and then make those decisions for themselves. So I'd say the large majority of the Veve fam is in that bucket. And then you have the bucket. There's a small subset of people that Veve can do no wrong, and I don't think that that's healthy either. I think like that's not good, because again, that's impossible for a company to be perfect. And I think it's important to sit there and say, I recognize these issues and these concerns, and how can we bring this up in a professional way to the team so that they can get better? So I would say maybe like 10%, or even less than that, maybe 3% of just like toxic, terrible people, and then maybe 17% of people who are frustrated and they don't listen as well, and then maybe 50% of the people, 55% of the people who are truly just trying to be objective and listen to both things, and then that smaller subset of the moon boy section.
Appreciate that answer. So like I feel like I've asked you like 30 questions in a row. And I'm sorry about that. Um, is there anything? So thank you for joining. Is there anything you wanted to come on and specifically address or talk about or anything like that?
I just wanted to shout you out, Randy, and just give you some flowers, man. I appreciate all of the work that you do in this space, and like just to see the passion about something that you believe in, and to go full force in that. And I feel like you man, you really try to stay away from attacking people, and you do try to just be positive, and you're just like a happy person, and the world needs more of that. The world needs more of just like caring, genuine people. And so I just appreciate the fact that you've served our country, and that you do these spaces, and that, I mean, look at the following that you have, right? Of the people who just love to listen to you. It's this community that you've built, and just wanted to give you flowers for that, man, and be proud of man, something that you built that's really special.
Well, thanks, man. I try my best, and I'm not always successful at it. I really do try to follow that. The world needs more love. I had a dream about that last night. So someone was on my left talking about NFTs, talking about like, oh, hey, this NFT came out in a magazine. I was like, oh, did that pump the price? I was trying to, and then somebody else was talking about I think it was like terrorists. I can't determine what they were talking about. And it's like, do you want to fight, or do you like what the options were? Like, do you want to like fight some really bad people, or do you want to like make love with like this beautiful amazing woman? And trying not to get too into it. Real quickly, I try to think, okay, well, uh, even if you take out some bad people, a lot of times there are, whether you take them out or incarcerate them, there are certain casualties. And if you can't, if the amount of people that join the cause because you accidentally take out some people that are innocent versus the people that you take out, then that's really counterproductive. Um, so I really just told him, I was like, well, make love, not war. And I was like super proud of myself that I said that. Um, but I feel like that part of me won in my dream, and maybe another universe of me, or maybe me in this world, might not think that. Um, obviously you have family, you have kids and stuff. Um, but is there, obviously the yin and the yang, you can't have darkness without light. Can't, appreciate the light without having a little bit of dark. Um, has any part of you ever wanted to join the military, and what stopped you from doing so?
I've never had like a yearning to serve in the military, but that being said, I was like, if my country ever needed me, right? Like something was happening and they're like, we need volunteers. Like this is a serious thing, dude. I'd be there in whatever capacity I could, right? Because I do believe in this country. I think it's turned, it's headed in not good direction for me, and it's extremely scary and disappointing. But that's being said, like I love this country and I do anything for the people here, right? So, I guess what kept me away from the military is um, the like there is a perception of some of the mentality of some of the individuals in the military that are power hungry and they abuse that power, and like the drill sergeants and like this, I don't know, some of the stories that I heard, that I was just like, that's terrible, man. I like, that's awful. And I just I like, I was bullied as a kid, right? And I learned very quickly to adapt to that, and ways to react to bullies so that they didn't want to bully me going forward, and stepping up to someone like that. So I feel like, not that I have an authority problem. I don't. If someone was to tell me to do something, right, and they were in a position of power above me, absolutely right. But if they're an a-hole about it and they're doing it just to be an a-hole, then I have a problem with it. And so I think that I would not have had a good time in the army because of that.
So yeah, there's a lot of hazing, and I was even telling a story yesterday where I part, and this is like so stupid, it's like so like autistic, like part of the reason, like I joined in one of the Captain America comics says like, you'll never see any change from the top down. You're only going to see change from the bottom up. And he has a bunch of different quotes like that. And like that's like, hey, maybe if I go and join, I could be in like, hey, I could maybe change some things if I reach a high enough rank. Um, and then that kind of changes really quickly because you realize they're just made up of people, and they're not superheroes, and some people are great and some people are not so great. But in basic training, there's one guy named Aitchison who was a bully. He was like an element leader. It was like four leaders, and he would kind of just like kind of talk down to people, but he was also homeschooled. And if he was just like a random nerd, like I would not have done this. I would have completely prevented it. But again, he was a bully. So, but he was also homeschooled, and he never really changed in front of people. So whenever we would shower, and there's like 50 of us, and there was only 12 shower heads, so a lot of us had to shower really quickly, and we were like two to a shower head, and it was very close quarters, and it was very, very not straight. But he would always like try to sneak in at the end and just like shower really quickly. So this one guy comes up, he's like, yo, you want to get Aitchison? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, get H's in. I was like, yeah, let's get H's in. So as soon as he goes in the shower, we take like a bunch of shampoo bottles and we start like pouring shampoo on him, and he like curls up in the corner, like no, no. But that's because he was like kind of bullied, like kind of give him a taste of his own medicine. Um, but that being said, like kind of afterwards, everyone was cool with each other, and I feel like guys have this really um almost like a cheat code to like you have a problem with someone, we just fight it out, and then you're cool with them afterwards. Do you think that because maybe it might have been bullied, maybe you wouldn't have tolerated that, and you would have been like, hey, even though this guy's a bully, let's not do that just because? Or would you have said like, nah, he kind of deserves it?
Man, I believe in karma. And sometimes the best way to get back at a bully is to teach him a lesson, honestly, like that, right? And to say it's not okay like that. And that gets him to back away. Most bullies are actually like pretty cowardly, right? They pick on the people that they think can't fight back, and then once someone does fight back, then they try to pick on someone else. And so that happened a couple times to me. I remember in seventh grade, we were pretty poor, right? So like I remember like we were on subsidized lunches. So I think I got like 40 cents that I could go buy my lunch with, which wasn't enough to like buy candy or something. And so I'd always bum change off people, right? I'd be like, yo, like, can I have your change? Because they buy candy and it was 40 cents and they put in 50 cents and there'd be a dime left over, right? And so this guy was like, oh, like, you stupid short poor kid or something like that. And I was like, I didn't even know the guy, right? And um, I was like, that's not cool, man. I'm like, yeah, we don't have a lot of money. I'm like, you're right there, and I'm like, yep, I'm short. Can't help it. That's just how I was born, you know. And but he just kept going, and so at the time I was in gymnastics, and bro, like I was I was ripped. I was ripped, seriously, right? I mean, and this guy was probably like a foot taller than me, but like, I'm like, dude, I can freaking, and I like, yeah. So, anyways, I looked at him. I'm like, seriously, just like knock it off. It's not cool. I'm trying to get enough to buy a candy bar, and then I'm out of here. And he was kind of making a scene about it, right? And so there's more and more people. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So I just grabbed him and I turned him sideways and I kneed him right in the thigh, like in the side of the leg thigh, as hard as I could. Just massive dead leg, right? And just disabled his legs right off the bat. So he just drops and he's in pain right off the bat. And everyone's like, whoa, what's happening? What's happening? Right. And I just like stood right over him on his, like, just went down right into his face. Right. And I was like, don't you ever tease me or call me short, or if I see you picking on anyone else ever again, I was like, I promise you it will not end well. And everyone was just like, oh, oh. And like the funny thing is the next day we had a class together. And he came up to me, he's like, hey man, I apologize, blah 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 blah. And we actually became pretty good friends after that. But like, so to address the question, I think that sometimes those bullies, right, there is like a higher road, but sometimes the best message is to be like, look, don't mess with me, because that's the only message that they're going to accept. So kind of trolling back, I probably would have been all in on that.
So now that I have the super um mature answer, and then what you did when you were younger, and you may or may not have handled it differently now, what's the answer to war? What is the answer to a lot of the problems that Earth faces right now?
Man, war is terrible. Like, war is terrible. I don't know. I start to think about it and it just makes me sad. Like, I just think about like so much suffering, unnecessary suffering by people who are just trying to live their life, and then there's these power hungry people that are just trying to like acquire more power and more wealth and things. And I don't think that there is a good answer to war. I do think that there are certain individuals that there is no other option than to go to war with those individuals. Like I look at Hitler, like Austria tried to play nice with Germany, right? And what happened is they just marched right in and took them over. And so I think that it is something that you always have to be willing to defend yourself, and um, but at the same time, I really like. I don't think that you should ever be the instigator, and so yeah, I just man again. The thing is, like, I'm so glad I'm not in that position where I have to make those calls. It's just terrible. And I think about like the people who come back from war and the things that they've seen and how disruptive that is. You got a lot of veterans with PTSD and the struggles, and I don't feel like the veterans get the support as much support as they need when they come home from things like that. My wife used to actually work at a VA, at one of the VAs, and she'd tell me about some of the people that she interacted with, and it's just heartbreaking to see some of that and some of what veterans go through. And I read all of the stories of the people who came back from Vietnam and how they were just like discarded because people didn't agree with the war and somehow it was the veterans' fault and stuff. So, man, it's just got to be like the option of last resort. And the fact that there's potentially two wars that we're involved in right now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is unacceptable.
So, it took a couple seconds to answer. So you obviously think before retorting. And you did say that if the country ever needed me for anything, you'd be right there. Would you ever run for public office? And you could, maybe now you might not want to, but in the next couple of years where suddenly, investments pay off and you're like a deca millionaire and you don't have to take any money from lobbyists and you don't have to take any money from special interest groups and you could do it yourself, run your campaign on like $1 or $2 million. Is that something that you might do as a not just a fiduciary responsibility, but a responsibility of, hey, I know I'm a good person and I can make the world a better place? Or do you think you can make the world a better place outside of that?
So that's funny. That's a funny question. I've actually had a lot of people throughout my life be like, "You should run for public office," because I'm very passionate, right? And I am someone who truly tries to hold the standard of like what is just and what is right. And I think that comes from being bullied and being like, "Look, this isn't fair. This isn't how things should be, and how can we make things better?" And at the same time, here's my concerns with it. I hate politics. I hate because it's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I think that there is almost just like an inevitable layer of dishonesty that creeps into politics. And if you were to truly be able to accomplish anything, you have to play that game. And I think that if you don't play the game, then you don't get anything accomplished. And then people are upset that, all the promises you ran on, nothing happened. And so people feel like helpless is like, well, I've got to do this. Otherwise, I'm not going to get anything done. And I just wish that there could just be like a reset button almost. And everyone in Congress was kicked out and we could put in completely fresh blood and that there were term limits. And so that people truly were there because they wanted to make a difference for their constituents and not to enrich themselves. Because I look at all these politicians, all of them, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, I see all these people and the public salaries that they make, and then they walk away, they retire from public service, and all of a sudden they're multi millionaires. And I'm like, you didn't do that the right way. There's no way you did that honestly, So I would love to run for office, and so I don't know if you know this, but I actually did an internship with the Scottish Parliament. This is way back in the day.
Oh yeah, tell us about that. I had no idea.
Yeah. So when I was in college and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, that this opportunity came out to do an internship with the Scottish Parliament, and so I went out there and I was assigned to, like, I didn't get to choose the political party that I was worked for, but actually ended up working for the Scottish National Party, and their platform was the independence of Scotland from the UK. And it was fascinating to read the history of how Scotland, even with William Wallace and all the battles and stuff like that, the Scots on working to be independent, that it was politics that screwed the people over and tied them to the UK. It was politicians that got paid and did some backdoor deals that tied them to the UK. So learned a lot about, grassroots campaigning and politics, and I actually got to the leader of that party at the time took me on a limo ride with their chauffeur and drove me around the constituency that they were over, and talked about all the awesome things that they had been able to do, the laws that they've been able to pass that helped these businesses. And it was amazing. It was powerful to be like, look, you do have the right person who's willing to really put their nose to the grindstone and get things done. Like, it can really benefit, a city or a town. And so I think that if I was to run for office, it would probably be on a smaller scale like that, where I think that the possibility of getting things done is a lot more likely. And I actually think that if you do that right, if everyone, like, it builds all the way up. So if you start from there and really establish solid people on city councils, right, and then counties, and then up to the governor, and build it up that way, man, I think that we'd be a completely different country.
So I won't ask you your voting record or who you voted for, but if you wanted to win, if you were to run, who would you run as? Again, not necessarily saying you would agree with the party that you run as, but if you wanted to win in order to make the difference, what party would you run with?
I mean, so if I thought I could win as an independent, that's what I would do, because I think that, like, I voted both Democrat and Republican. It depends on the individual, and it depends on, like, what's being voted for. I hate this, and that's one thing that was interesting in Scotland. There's like 9 or more political parties, and at first I was like, "This is crazy. That's so convoluted. How can you do that?" But then what I found out actually is the way it works is a larger majority of the population actually gets what they want, because there's no party that has complete control to make all the decisions. And so they have to band together with different parties in order to get certain laws passed. So you can have, oh, thanks, Mo. So you can have, like, the Green Party and the Labor Party, right? And they come together with another party to get enough votes to pass a law. And so there's more percentage of the population that actually gets something that they want, as opposed to just, well, it's mostly the Democrats that get it, or it's mostly the Republicans that get it. And so, but if I couldn't do that, I mean, I would say I'm fiscally conservative. So that's more along the lines of the Republican ticket. So I'd probably run that way. But if I could do independent and thought I could win, I would definitely run that way first.
So do you discount a lot of libertarian candidates and it'd be like, hey, nice dream, but it's not something that I think would win? I loved Ron Paul back in the day. He was like my hero. What do you think about libertarians? Do they have like idealistic dreams that can be good? Are they all just a bunch of crazy conspiracy anarchist people?
Uh, I love a lot of the libertarian ideals, in that having a small government, the government was never set up to be this behemoth that it is today. It was really there to, like, protect us in the war and establish, like, infrastructure, right? And now they're freaking telling us what we can and can't do half the time, right? So I am for smaller governments in general. So I do like that ideal, and those would be things that I push. I think that there's too much red tape, too many crazy. I mean, bloated government, and I think that it's set up that way to obfuscate a lot of things that happen and where money goes. So yeah, I I mean, I think it, like Ron Paul, I liked a lot of Ron Paul's ideas, but the thing is I feel like every individual that I've seen, there's a lot of ideas I like and a lot of ideas I don't like, and so I would like to incorporate multiple ideas from the different platforms. I think that there's a lot of good, and I think that that's another problem is so much of this world now is it's like if you're not with us, you are against us, and they're trying to pit us one against another, right? And that's not the thing. We shouldn't be like I mean, the term is like, oh, the liberals or oh, the Democrats or oh, the Republicans. That's exactly what they want because what it does is it allows us to then um, cancel out some of the good ideas that these people or not even be willing to hear some of their ideas because they're of the other party, right? And we can't let them win. And it's this like winning thing. It's like actually like let's try to get the majority of people to win and to benefit from that. Like that shouldn't that be the goal? But that's not the goal. That's not the goal in politics, right?
So if let's say in an alien world and they're looking at humans and they'll be like, okay, let's discount 75% of the people that are just tribal, that just my side or die, and they pull it down with their pro con list, a list of 10,000 humans that they think like, hey, I can trust these people, we'll go to them to ask like, hey, who what do you think is right? If the aliens came down to you in your backyard and said, hey doc, take us to your leader, the best leader that you think would be the best representative of the world, who would you take them to and why? Or do you think that, hey, listen, that's a really big question, I don't know who I can trust, let me be your steward for right now, and then as we go along this, I'll take you to someone who I can trust. I'm curious to your answer to that.
I don't trust any politician. like, I mean,
Well, it does not have to be a politician. It could be anyone in the world, musician. It could be like anyone that you instincts you trust more than your own, or be like, hey, my own instincts are the best for now, and we'll go from there.
oh man, I think that I would have to think long and hard about that. I don't trust myself to know enough. I mean, I, I would have to surround myself with very competent advisors, before I would say, hey, this is something a mantle that I could take on myself. And I would have to think long and hard about someone who I feel like uh, could take that reign, and because wow, what a heavy burden that is for someone who wants to actually do it right. So I don't know. What about you? I'll flip that to you. What would you do?
Uh, that's hard. Um, if they're, I perceive them as good aliens, and that they're going to be, not super pushy and be like, hey, we just want to have like trade with you. We don't know who you are, and if I perceive them as like, hey, I can trust the aliens, and hopefully, they don't deceive me. um, one of the only ones that I think I do try to keep my circle fairly small. So inside my friends, uh, yeah, that's hard. Um, I now recognize the uniqueness of this question. I mean, I'm not, for super small things, I'd be like, okay, let me think about it, and try to give you all options. Um, but but I think I would be good for like the small stuff, like, hey, give us information on this. Well, here's what I know about it. Here's what I can ask Chat GPT about. Here's all the stuff on the internet. And I could probably find you a couple of people that have had experiences with these situations, and maybe that's the best thing. A lot of people's heroes when they're younger are their parents, and let's say their dad is was a did semi-pro football or college football back in the day. He's probably a really good football teacher, but he's not perfect, and maybe he doesn't know that much about basketball or bowling or art, and be like, hey, this person is great, he's been my confidant and my master for years, but he doesn't know everything, and you could fill museums and encyclopedias of knowledge that this person doesn't know, So maybe that would be a better thing, to have like a smorgasbord of people that go to this person for this and this person for that. That might be better, to have like a symposium. I don't know if that really answers your question or not.
Well, the funny thing is, it's your question aimed back at you, right? And it was fun to watch you kind of process what you had asked me and be like, man, that is that is a lot more difficult than I originally thought. But yeah, so yeah, there you go, right? I love that. I love that, Bill. Man, Bill's such good people. There's so many good people in here, and oye, Mikel Vic, quiero decirte hola, ¿eh? Buenos días. Yo viví en España hace mucho tiempo ya, así que se me he olvidado mucho de mi español, pero me queda un poco, ¿eh? So yeah. Anyways, man, it's funny. It's funny when you ask these deep questions, and it was fun. It makes me think back when we talked about this earlier, but when you were in Times Square and you were just asking people in Times Square all of these random like deep questions and getting people to expound upon that. And I love that. I love Times Square because of the ability to people watch and just get a little bit more flavor of like life and people's thoughts and what's out there, and kind of burst our own little personal bubble that sometimes I think that we get in. That was a big experience for me when I moved to Spain. I'd been this like I hadn't been outside the United States really before, and so to get plopped into a completely different country and a completely different culture, and just see how they do things and how Europe operated in general was just like eye opening to me. And it's like, wow, there's this whole big world out there. That really sparked like a travel bug in me, right? And since then, like I've traveled all over the world, and I love it. And man, there's so much to see here. And I think one of the reasons I love the VV community so much is because it is global, and we get to see people from Spain or from France, like Fanny Carbonell, right? The UK fam, I met several like Jazz Deep and his wife at Decon that are from the UK. Man, like they're just all over the place. Foster Hilt from Canada. I mean, just so many really, and like my collectibles, so many good people that you meet um, from all walks of life. And I think, man, that whole like love thy neighbor thing, I think if we can just realize that everyone is, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Just realize that everyone has different experiences, and really kind of hold back on the judgment there. And everyone is just trying to live their life and, to experience happiness. And I think that if we can try to promote that, right, and make people walk away from us having had a more positive experience, right, and a little bit happier than they left, man, if the world could just, if that was the focus of most people, again, what a completely different world it would be.
So and you don't have to answer this if you don't want. You said I plead the fifth, or like next question. I feel like the amount of what I respect about your answers is like it's very well thought out, and obviously well traveled and well educated. It took me years and a whole bunch of LSD to get to where you're at. Have you ever taken psychedelics? If yes, tell us experience, and if no, uh, tell us why not, and what you think about them. And thank you, Taco Breaks, for the super chat. Oh wow, epic, epic, epic. I'll let you know. But yeah, do you want to answer that first, and then his super chat, or do you want to answer my question first?
I mean, I'm not going to provide an answer, but Taco Breaks, that is epic. I love that. What a win. Let's go. That is epic, man. I've got 3 commons over here, and none of them are double digit. But man, I sure love it. I think that's so cool and such a part of VB history now. So you go ahead and answer that first. It's a super chat towards you, but I got nothing, man. That's
Okay,
not
yeah.
that's not up.
So if you sold out for 30, so clearly the sub 40s do carry a premium. Them in general carry a premium. I think the floor on that was like 5,500 at one point. The physicals have averaged like 900 just for the physicals without the code. So I mean, you're making a lot of X on your money, but this is it might not be a first appearance Iron Man on the app, but this is the first time that this has happened with this tri partnership with Marvel, Funko, and Veve, and because they sold out $435,000 in 27 hours, they're likely going to do this again, and it's likely going to be much bigger. And this was with a really really bad line, like the gold line. What a lot of the Funko peeps had said, just like, we hate this line, we don't like this line, we're not buying this line, we're skipping this line, and it still sold out only in America. You have a lot of Europe, you have a lot of Australians, you have a lot of people that really really want this, and the first of anything is really is really a lot. um However many other, they could have a bunch of first appearances. They could have a new Marvel character that we've never had before, like let's say Ms. Marvel. She just had the Marvels movies come out. They could have that come out as a Funko Pop first appearance on DV, and it could be a much better line. And in which case, a lot of the Funko people, it could be not just in America, it could be all over the world. They could do like 800,000 on that. And I know that sounds like a ton. Be like, well, VV people can't afford that. We barely afforded this in 27 hours. Well, listen, Funko did like $1 billion in sales last year, and they've been declining in sales the last 5 years. So $1 million is really nothing for them, especially on a good line. Uh, but you can never replicate the first of anything. Like you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. So you already got a big win. I think you bought two, and you got two secret rares, which is wild. So take the win, and I might keep that for a little while. If you want to go and say like, hey, I know I can get like 4,500, 6K for this. Let's say you cash out at 5K, and you can get like 8 million OMI. I think that's great, and that'll likely outperform anything this has. But I know you have a decent amount of OMI already, and I don't really know your financial situation. Maybe this covers a bunch of bills, this covers whatever, and this next one could really put you over the top and put you into that really money making stuff. Again, I don't know. What's going to hurt more? Hey, this might go up, fivefold before OMI goes up double. How you feel about that? Or you could just say like, hey, yeah, this went up 2, 3x, but OMI went up 10x in a year. What's going to hurt less? And decide on that. Ask yourself that question before you act. That's kind of my response or retort. I forget what we were talking about before.
You had asked me about psychedelics and if I'd taken them or if I would, and if I haven't, like why not? And for me, so no, I've never taken psychedelics. I've never taken any drugs. I've never smoked a cigarette or cigar. I've never even, well, no, I have had alcohol unintentionally. I thought it was fruit punch and it was sangria. So I had that. I didn't like it, to be honest. But oh man, Jimbo Lilingo, I don't know this. Whenever I see Jimbo Lilingo, just another positive individual. I love people like that. So shout out to you, Jimbo Lilingo. You're awesome. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Um, I don't like not being in control of my body. It is the thing. And so, like when I think about smoking and thinking of having a major, and I have a very addictive personality. So I also actually have a fear that like if I really started drinking alcohol, that I'd become an alcoholic, and I don't want to take that risk and ruin the life I have because of that. And cigarettes, that's just never appealed to me. I don't like the smell. Um, so there's that, and then psychedelics like that. Yeah, again, I don't like not being in control of myself like at all times and having my faculties about me. I've just heard of too many stories, and now I've heard of people where they create like a safe space and there's that someone watching you. I don't remember what that's called and stuff like that, but I'm gonna experience this life the way I am, and the way I came into this world and experience it that way, and but again, I mean, no, I actually kind of find it very fascinating to hear some of the stories of people who've taken psychedelics or mushrooms and the things that they've seen and how that's opened them up. I mean, Jordan talked about that on his stream one time, and it was fascinating to hear that, but not my cup of tea.
So there's this show called it's Kevin Spacey, House of Cards.
Oh yeah,
Where he goes and says like, I've always abhorred the idea of sleep. It puts even the most powerful of men on their backs. And, fair point. And you say you don't like to not have control of your body. Do you also abhor the idea of sleep? And do you try to sleep as minimal as possible? Or do you think that, hey, sleep is important? Lack of sleep can cause cancer and cause, risk of other diseases. Or do you think like, hey, maybe that could affect me way down the line when I'm an elder and I want my faculties about me now, and that's why I choose to sleep as minimal as possible.
I wish I could sleep good. I have never been a good sleeper. I'm a light sleeper. And so like I now I've gotten a little bit I had like an illness that actually uh when I was in Scotland, actually I got this cold and I was a poor college student, got this fluid in my ear. I didn't take care of it for years. There was fluid in my ear for years. I didn't go to a doctor. When I finally went to a doctor, they're like, well, you have no middle ear bone. Like I'd lost like a significant part of my hearing in my left ear, and I just like dealt with it for forever. And I was like, I need to get this taken care of. Um, and so since then, and I've had an operation now where I have a prosthetic hearing bone. It's fascinating. I can hear better, but I still like I don't still hear as well. And so if I sleep on my good ear, I have finally slept better, but I still don't sleep well. And so I'm a night owl because I don't get much sleep in general. And so like I just stay up and I kind of do things like I'm active. I do a lot of reading or studying. Sometimes I watch movies and then I go to bed at like midnight or 1 and then I wake up at like 6, you know, and start my day. But man, I do know that sleep is good for you. And for a time when I couldn't hear and I did sleep well, I functioned so much better at a higher efficiency. And if you plan your day right, you can actually get a lot more accomplished when you're well rested than you can, staying up for 16 hours every day, 18 hours every day.
There's I forget who it's by. The quote says like, for years or centuries, sleep was considered a like jumping off point to another realm. Now, obviously, we know now that especially in REM sleep, it plays, and this is why you have nightmares, is because your brain is preparing you for scenarios that might happen in the future. And if it scares you as a nightmare, you might be able to go and react to it a different way, and it might save your life. But again, going back to that quote saying dreams have been considered portals to another realm, do you believe? Are you a subscriber of the Copenhagen interpretation or the many worlds theory?
I don't know what you mean by that.
The Copenhagen interpretation just means that there's one Earth, there's one galaxy, there's one universe, and that's it. The many worlds interpretation is basically multiverse theory. Is basically what Marvel has, and hey, there's a you right here that chose to go and be on this podcast tonight, and there's another you which chose not to do it. And it's like, so Schrodinger's cat is a thing where there's a Geiger counter, there's a radiation thing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know short
Okay, so yeah, so
word
the cat is both dead and alive, and if you open the box and the cat's alive, cool. In this universe, it's alive. In another universe, it's dead. So do you think there's such thing as a multiverse, or do you think it's just a one and done thing, and multiverse is just like a theory that can't be proven?
I don't think there's a multiverse. I think that I I don't know if there would ever be like there I think that there has to be other life out there. It like I think that like the likelihood, I mean the galaxy continues to expand, right? Like it's never ending. I'm sure that there's an ending, but it continues to grow. And when we talk about like there are more stars in the sky than there are sands on the beaches and the seas. Like my brain cannot comprehend the immensity of like what's out there, right? And when I think about, okay, well, let's take it the opposite way, right? And like how many bacteria are on like this pinpoint, right? And it's like billions like of bacteria, and I'm like, that is such a massive number, right? So if I extrapolate that and say, okay, so this is, potentially billions of germs or organisms here on this pinpoint, and we expand that out to like what the universe is, I just feel like that there has to be other life out there. So like I believe in that. I believe that this earth, I don't think that there are replicas necessarily of me out there, but like I do believe that there is other life. I just don't know how that's um how we can be, and I just can't get on board with the fact that the Big Bang Theory we're all just an accident. I think that there's a reason that we're here on this earth, that we have purpose here. But that's me.
That's me.
I will get super deep into this in a minute. If you have time, by all means, go whenever you need to go.
No, yeah,
No, yeah, that
Okay. And then Taco Breaks question for you saying, would you vote for Ross Perot?
um I liked a lot of Ross Perot's ideas, and I remember a younger me watching some of Ross Perot's like economic talks, and he had these charts out, and like he was sitting here drawing all these things. Um, I like that, but I don't know if Ross Perot is also a leader of men, and I think that we need that. We need someone who the world respects and fears at the same time. So, like, I don't think that I could have voted for him because I don't think that he would have instilled confidence in the military necessarily, right? And to have been a force that people really would have feared. But did I like some of his ideas? Yeah, and like that's the thing that's tough, right? Like unless you can find an individual who truly is, they surround themselves with also with experts in their fields that also have the same agenda, is to make your country a better place and to improve it, right? um, because no one can be an expert in everything. You can be an expert in certain things, right? But like I think one of the qualities that is a must for the president of the United States is a leader of men. So um, I don't think I would have voted for Ross Perot, but not because I didn't like a lot of the things that he talked about.
Thank you for answering that. It means a lot. So on the getting back to where we're saying that, hey, we're all on here on Earth for a reason, and other people or other beings might come, that's fine. What is your reason for being on Earth?
I mean, man, there can be a lot of reasons to be here, but I think one of the reasons is to learn and to grow, right? And also to learn to make good decisions. Like so, yeah, I think that that's one of the purposes, is to truly grow. I don't think that this is our only life. I think that there's a life after this life, and so I think that we progress. But I think, are certain things here that we can only learn here, or that are easier to learn here. Um, and so, yeah, kind of like how are we going to choose? Are we going to choose, and grow and be like a better individual, or are we going to choose the things and be selfish that only benefit us and hurt others? And like, how do we grow? And I guess I look at um, the analogy I guess I give is with muscles, right? If you don't constantly test your muscles and do things, like what happens to those muscles, right? They just wither away into nothingness. And I think that that's kind of like our souls and things. If we aren't constantly testing ourselves and experiencing difficulties and learning from them and growing from them and becoming better, like I think that our soul, right, like also withers. And I so by being tested and learning from those and not quitting, I think that like our soul grows and we become better people, and I think that that helps us in the next life.
So on the next life, it's so just kind of bring this back. What you're saying is, I think I'm going to compare it in a very childlike way to Pokemon, where Ash and his Pikachu beat Lieutenant Surge and his Raichu, and Raichu is the evolved form of Pikachu, because as soon as Lieutenant Surge caught his Pikachu, he evolved it with a Thunderstone. But Ash won because his Pikachu learned moves that you can only learn in the Pikachu stage. And what you're saying is that, hey, there are some things we could only learn on here, and once we're able to learn those, and we can move on. Do you think that life essentially could be like a video game, and once the creators uh, think that we've learned enough, they let us move on to the next level, whatever that may be? And do you think that's what we're doing in the metaverse, where we're going inward and we're creating things that have AI? We're creating things that could essentially learn on its own. And we put code in there that say, like, you're not going to get to this level unless you do X, Y, and Z.
Um, I believe, I do believe that for some of us, right? Like if that there's a purpose here, and if we complete that purpose, then I do think that you can be called to the next level or called home, or however you want to phrase that. Yeah, I do think that's something that's definitely possible. Um, and then I think sometimes that there might be, like, you hear about the people who the near death experiences, right, where they've died on the table, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I talked to God and He gave me this choice, like you can either stay with me or go back, and they give them that opportunity. So yeah, I don't know. So it was really interesting, actually. My brother-in-law, his wife's grandma recently passed, and as she was sitting there, it was really interesting. She was kind of on her deathbed, and they knew that she was slowly passing, and she kept being like, she saw her husband, and she was like, oh, he keeps asking me to come with them. And she was like talking to him, and everyone's like, grandma, like no one's here, right? And she's like, he's right there, I can't go yet, I can't go yet. And everyone's like, yo, what is happening, and it was almost like, kind of this transparency into whatever this next life is what they, I wasn't there, but this is how they were describing it. Is this person who was so close to death was able to kind of see into that next space there. And look, some say that, hey, that's just like chemicals in the brain as the body's shutting down and it creates hallucinations. I don't know, but they were like, we were there, and she was very lucid in that she was talking to this individual and she was saying these things. Didn't seem like she was crazy. It was actually the most lucid she had been in quite some time, and it was she passed away like, a few hours later or something like that. So um I I I would agree. I think that there are certain things that we can learn here, and uh the things that we do in this life, I think that there are ramifications to that. And I think part of the reason that I believe that is I just can't subscribe to the idea that we're an accident, and it's just here, and that there's no purpose. There's no purpose to that, because if that's the case, then why not just be selfish? Who cares? And they're like, oh, well, but it's better to help people. And I'm like, I agree, but who cares? Is if you're just an accident and I'm an accident, then why shouldn't I just do everything that benefits me in this brief moment for the accident that I'm here? Now that's a terrible take on, maybe, right, and there's maybe some people who believe that we're just an accident, and they take it that way. But I to that them I say, why do that? And I think that there's a reason that we feel good for doing good. I think that there's a reason for that. I don't think that that would just be randomly put in there if there wasn't a reason to feel good about doing something good. So
I mean, just kind of play devil's advocate. You could have, there's a reason why a lot of things that maybe are not necessarily good for us, they feel good, like being lazy, eating sweet food. Well, why do we like sweet food? Why do we like candy and sugar? Well, way back in the day, fruit was really only available certain times a year. So when you had it, you want eat as much as possible because it won't be available for another 8 months. Um, and a lot of it, why do we thoroughly enjoy boinking? Well, it's because our monkey brains haven't caught up with the fact that we don't need to be we don't need to repopulate the planet with more of us. But I definitely get what you're saying, and I do want to get back to this, but we got a super chat from Taco Breaks, and I think you've already answered this, so feel free to do as little as possible, or however much you want. What do you think about Ross Perot? And again, I feel like you've answered this, but if you want
Yeah,
to add
like
to it, whatever you want.
I feel like I touched on it. Um, he was a successful businessman, so like I can't say like maybe he would have been like a solid leader. I didn't feel I was younger when I watched his campaign, right? I think it was like the early '90s that he ran. I think he ran against Bill Clinton. If I'm not mistaken. I think it was Bill Clinton, or maybe it was George Bush. Yeah, maybe it was George Bush actually. But I just remember thinking, like, this guy just didn't instill a lot of confidence in me. But like I was young, and I haven't gone back and watched a lot of that. So like maybe Taco Breaks is older. I'm interested in his fascination with Ross Perot, and why he's asked this question twice about him. But and I'm sorry if that's not a good enough answer. Like I don't feel like I knew him well enough. I did watch multiple presentations that he gave early on, but even then I was kind of just like it just didn't seem to click compared to like what the other presidential candidates were doing, and I was like, I don't know how people are going to get the buy-in for that, right? It was very different, and he ran as an independent as well, and but I like that. I like the idea of an independent who's saying I'm not going to be beholden to any one particular political party's agenda. I'm going to do what I think is I'm going to pick the best from both worlds if possible. So hopefully that helped.
I'm sure it did. Thank you. I forget what we were talking about before. I feel like we keep going back and forth.
Oh well,
Oh
so I mean,
well, so I mean,
the
the
afterlife,
afterlife,
and what happens.
and what happens.
And Jeremy
And Jeremy
brings up a good
brings up a
point,
good
right?
point, right?
It is
It is
selfish,
selfish,
and
and
I don't think it
I
is a
don't think
bad
it
thing
is
to
a bad thing
practice
to
empathy and
practice
want the
empathy and
best for
want the best
everyone
for
without
everyone
thinking
without
you'll be
thinking you'll be
rewarded for
rewarded
it.
for it.
I think
I
that is
think
a
that is a
wonderful point of
wonderful point
view,
of view,
and
and
I'll
I'll
leave it
leave
at that.
it at
I
that.
think
I think
that is a
that
great
is a great
point of view,
point of
and
view,
I
and
want that
want that
empathy.
empathy.
But if at
But
the end
if
of the
at the end of
day
the day
it
it
serves no
serves no
deeper
deeper
purpose,
purpose,
I guess that's
I
why
guess that's why
there has to
there
be a
has to
deeper
be a deeper
purpose,
purpose,
because there is
because there
something
is
embedded
something
in
embedded
us
in us
that has
that
that
has that
natural
natural.
desire in general to want to do something good, because when we do something good, there's something inside us that is like genetically embedded that gives us dopamine, like that basically rewards us, right? And we feel good about serving others. I think that is something that has been embedded into us by a higher power. So sorry that I took you to the dark place there, Jeremy. And that's just my look. This is one guy's point of view here, and I'm not saying like I know everything, but that's kind of how I act, and not necessarily that I'm gonna like, be like rewarded, but I think that I gain something from that overall, and I think that there's a next life to where it also makes sense that gain will. I guess it would benefit me in the next life, because I'll have a better level of understanding and a deeper empathy for people uh, in the next life.
So there's a song by the Chainsmokers. I forget what the song is called, but the lyric that I want to reference is, "She said, where'd you want to go? How much you want to risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman uh, gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss. Just someone I could turn to, just someone I can kiss." So in that quote, it seems like, hey, you've made it. You have a family, you have a lover, you have a partner. There's really no more need to grow. But when you go and you say, hey, and this could be the last question, um, hey, I think we're on here for a reason. When do you stop growing? When do you go and say, like, a lot of bodybuilders be like, hey, it's not about growing anymore. It's about maintaining. When do you go and stop trying to be the best of yourself? Because if you try to be the best of yourself, you sacrifice family time.
Well, I guess we may have different definitions of the best of yourself. I think that if you are trying to enrich and better the lives of those around you, including your family, which I think is like the most important and integral part of society, uh, that is my best self. So if I if I completely just focused on myself, I don't think that necessarily makes me better because then it is that selfishness. I like maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but like I think it's extremely important to you're saying work on yourself to where you're kinder, you're better. I think one of the best ways to do that is by interacting and serving those around you. I think that that's how you learn some of those things. I think that you can't learn some of those things without other individuals, and so you can work on yourself like physically fit, right, and mentally strong. There's a lot that you can do by yourself that way to better yourself. You can work on yourself financially, right, so that you are independently wealthy. Those are things that you can better by yourself. But I'll just put it this way, and this is just me, right? But I've traveled like for work. I traveled all over the place, and there's so many times that I've gone somewhere and I'm like, man, my wife would love this. Like, I wish my wife was here to experience this with me. I would enjoy that so much more if she was there with me. And so, like, I think that, and look, there are some people who they love being an individual and just being, not beholden to anyone or any constraints, because that also happens, right? I would be like, hey, I'm gonna go over there, and they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, you're right. I guess I'm not. But man, I think that finding someone who can push you and stretches you, sometimes pushes you to your limits, sometimes over your limits. But you learn from that and you say, hey, how can I improve this relationship? How can I continue to build on this and not give up? Those are the things that stretches you, and I don't think that you can. There's certain things that you just can't do without someone else to truly make you your best self.
That is a fair point, and that is so. Thank you for coming. I know you do have to bounce. Is there any one thing you want to talk about real quick before you bounce, or is that I feel like that's a really good send off? But but let me know.
No, I just again thank you for your service, Randy. Appreciate you. I look for the next time where I can just give you a big hug, bro, and we can chat just about life and these awesome, super deep topics. Appreciate all the fam who's sitting here and adding their thoughts. Like I love this. I love the community. I hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you down the road.
I love you, Doc. I'll see you later.
All right, peace out.
Peace out.
He's such a cool dude. He's such a bro. There's a couple questions we didn't get to. Hopefully, I can get to them, and we'll see what we got here. Um, SCC, well, I won't say that, but yeah, SCC is a joke. I feel like I'm dumb because wouldn't David and Dan's intentions be to pump the token if all they wanted to make billions? Well, yes. I mean, they are going to miss out on billions of dollars if they don't do any utility. So obviously, they have the highest intentions of going and making the token be as valuable as possible, as long as it is in line with the vision of the Veve company. They're not going to do it in sacrifice of the company. They're going to do it as long as the thesis of the company does not change, and that's what they're going to be doing. Um, yeah, yeah. Dr. Stuff is really, really good at explaining, what things may or may not be liable. He's explains a lot of really good stuff. So that's why I'm super glad he came on. Everything, yeah. Um, and here's why most people will not make it in crypto. Here's why most people do not have any. Um, in general, think things are hard. I can't tell you the amount of people, guys and girls, that I've taken to the gym, that I've put a lot of time and effort into diet, a lot of time and effort into a workout plan. Hey, here's what your goals are. You've told me your goals. Here's how we go and achieve them. And less than a week, 2 weeks later, they're done. Never see them again. At least not at the gym, not in that physical capacity. certain things are hard. And when you go outside of your comfort zone, a lot of people don't like it there. They go right back into their comfort zone. And that includes people going and saying, hey, the rest of the market is up. I'm going to sell this coin at a loss in order to go chase green candles. And again, sometimes it works where the token keeps on running, and sometimes it doesn't, where you buy into the hype and it goes right down. Like generally that's a lot of times that's what happens. Um, and like I said, you really don't want to do that. This feels like Earth 2 days. Randy Futters, yeah, it definitely feels like the Earth 2 days, and that's how I know it's going to be successful, or one of the reasons. You communicate really means they're scared of us. The real truth was considered. No, no, not at all. A lot of things that again, Dr. Stuff and Crypto Rain won't ask the team because they don't want to put them in a position where they accidentally say something that they're not supposed to say. So no, no. Again, when video games are being updated, what is the communication from the team? It's almost none. Again, Tesla Cybertrucks have been promised, for the past 3.5 years now. Why don't we have them? Well, it's how many updates are we getting? We get like 1 or 2 updates a year. We have like 16 Veve app updates this year. We're ahead of a lot of the companies in a lot of ways. But also aren't considering that the IPs. Yeah, that's the other thing. IP is only coming to Veve. We're not losing any licenses. We're gaining them a lot. Anyone feel if a Komi Veve says they're sunsetting OMI, but they'll convert all of the MCP points that you could use in the app? I know how. What does it say? I know I would feel, but just curious on your guys' feel. So be advised, that's kind of a moot point because obviously the Veve and Akomi team are not going to sunset OMI. That's a very, very ridiculous claim. So I have no worry about that at all. Reviews Dr. Stuff. Yeah, he's great. We love him. Wouldn't like that conversation. 2 million MCP points. Yeah, same. I was thinking about those MCP points the other day, even valued at a penny. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Same thing as Essence, right? Yeah, same. I discovered all the art in today's Frozen drop is found in the book The Art of Frozen. Oh, it's amazing. And again, I really, really love I really, really love the Frozen stuff. I was watching Frozen 2 tonight, with friends, after we had a big day, big Veterans Day, before I got on. Just really good stuff. So the Hawkeye drop is in like 10 hours, which is great. Frozen, I don't think made a lot of money, the drop today. No, not at all. It's say 10.23, so it's like not even 300 plus, we're going to do this 300. Oh, guys, I want 100, so say 400. The ultra rare is 723. 130, so it's 400, so 530. 530 have been. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Dr. Stuff rules. He does. He is the man. Dr. Stuff is someone that is highly educated, uh, exceedingly brilliant, and just he can think and entertain an idea, without being like, oh, this idea is horrible. He will do that. He's very, very lucky he's in the fam. All right, 523, this is like 80. Okay, plus 80 plus. All right, what is the secret rare here? Elsa's Ice Palace, which is really cool. That's, sorry, 523 is 100. 610 times 25. So the Frozen drop only made $15,000 today. That's not a lot at all. To use his 285 secret rare for me on the Frozen drop. I'm not complaining at all. Very, very nice. I'm very curious on what the Frozen drop actually meant for people, what it's selling at retail. Well, the secret rare is going for $39. That is very, very cheap. And likely probably should be worth more. The one I like is really the common, or I guess the rare it's called. Yeah, the Eternal Winter is the rare. So the Eternal Winter is at $17. All right, so it's 40 and 17, so it's 57. The ultra rare is 16. How is the ultra rare cheaper than the rare? That is insane. So what does that say? 47 and 15. So 47, 5, 53, 63. The ultra rare Olaf Summer is 18. 81. An Arendelle in Spring. Oh wow, that's 43. So it's $125 for the entire set. You know, it's a lot. And I think we have Marvel Mighties coming up, so I'm likely not going to be able to, likely not gonna do that. Worried about their bags when you see everything else pumping like crazy. People get scared. Yeah, they do. They do. People do be scared though. You know, which is fine. You know, people can be scared, and you know, this separates the men from the boys. It separates the patient from the inpatient, and the patient always make money. It's a great thought. MCP to OMI would be so good. Oh, can't wait. So it's about the releases dates that are way and are far from delivered, but you know it's a startup at the time, and also still, but things happen. Yeah, I mean, the release dates are everything in tech's going to be delayed. Thank you for service. Oh, thank you, thank you. What if it was Tomorrow War though? I had to jump to fight those creatures. Well, I would try my very best. I'm not in great shape right now, but I would give it my all. Really awesome. What up, Mo Collections? Mo Collections? Yeah, it's a lot of impressions I got. Yeah, he does great lives. Understand duty and honor, but there's too much corruption and people dying over things that can be diplomatically solved. See as last resort to offload people into the grinder. Well, I will agree that it is heartbreaking that, and yes, anyone that's in the military is a man. Well, they're adults, you know, men and women. And I'll say that, you know, some of the best people I served with were 18, 19 years old. Best men and women I ever served with. And you know, even though they are men and women, they are adults. You know, a lot of people, if you're 60, you're going to view me as a kid, you know, 32. You know, you'll view someone as 25, 22 as a kid, 18 and 19. Again, best men and women I ever served, but they're kids. And it is horrendously heartbreaking to see kids that from Ukraine and kids from Russia that do not want this war. They do not want to fight this war. They do not hate each other. They're dying because two old men don't like each other. That's bullshit. So yes, there's a lot of corruption and there's a lot of people overdying things that should have a diplomatic solution. But I don't think it's a last resort to offload people into the grinder. I don't think it's like a eugenics thing. I don't think it's like a class thing. Oh, let's, you know, kill all these poor people. It's just blatant stupidity. Thinking upon sucks someone else's plan and free will exists and they choose war for peace. Yeah, it's really horrible. Yeah, of course. Yeah, agreed. Love will triumph over non-organized resource development consumptions. Not wanting to change an industry with innovation because it would disrupt the people who control it. Yeah, hard to chat explain. Long of statement that, yeah, I feel you. Not enough vote for independent. There's pros and cons. There is. I mean, yeah, again, I really love libertarians when I was younger. I still do a lot of the times. Hello, veterans from Australia. Cheers. And thank you to everyone that shot me a message today. You know, texted, whatever. Yeah, that means a lot. 6 in the morning in Spain. Well, I think it's almost 7 now. I went from Spanish to French to English. I'm not confused. I had to go back to make sure I heard it right. Love you, Tiwi. Tiwi, you're the best. Yeah, I went over this before, but essentially it's up to you. So I hope that makes sense. Let me try on the app right now. You know, I didn't have numbers in front of me before. Let's see what we have here. You said it was the gold? Oh no, it's a secret rare fudge. Okay. My app is not, it's not doing a thing. Okay, here we go. Oh, wow, it's at 4,400. The number 5 is 6,900. Yeah, 4,400 is not bad. You know, if you get that, I think that's okay. But you know, who knows? Let's go tackle breaks. Let's go. Hello. Hey, is a thank you. Is a multiverse? Yeah, yeah. I think there's a multiverse, infiniverse as well. And obviously he answered that really well. Life-changing things like Pluto is not a planet. I longer agreed. More germs on a library computer mouse in a guy's bathroom. How that is so strange. Ugh. Bruce says he would have installed confidence in the overall community. Most of the comments does not join the military. But most of the comments does not. Wait, who's that from? Is that from me? Is that from, oh, we're talking about Ross Perot. Okay. Notice so yeah, that's what it is. Meow, GrumpyCat. Meow, 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 meow. I think it's a bad thing to practice empathy. Not the best for everyone. I think it'd be rewarded. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so I do think I didn't just mute myself. Cheers. Oh, thanks guys for being over here. Thanks guys. Oh, thank you again. Awesome channel, best channel on earth too. Thank you. You know, I try my best, and sometimes I think it's good enough, and sometimes it satisfies a lot of people. You know, so sometimes it's not. Sometimes people feel like it's not the best, and so I'm trying. I do try my very best. You know, it's I remember at New York Comic Con when Veve Magic just she hurt her knee. I had to carry her the comics and a lot of stuff she bought at the con to her hotel room, and you know we get ice. I get ice for her knee, and we just sit and talk for a little while because you know I was pretty tipsy, and it was like, and we just talk about a bunch of things, and she was my confidant, you know, like for hours, and I owe her so much for that. And essentially, she kind of just says like, you know, what's up, you know, what gets you out of this twin bed in the morning. Um, you know, it's like a lot of people. I feel like, again, what Doctor Stuff just went over, especially in the first appearance that he made on the channel before the first time. I mean, he's been on the channel before, but as soon as he got on today on this podcast, he just said like, hey, listen, there's a lot of reasons why this is BS. There's a lot of reasons why I had to make a video because it was, you know, there's a saying called a little bit of knowledge is very dangerous. And you know, when a little bit of knowledge is very dangerous, you have somebody that had a little bit of knowledge and they made that post that got 50,000, 60,000 impressions, but almost none of it was true. Almost none of it was, you know, grounded in reality. So Dr. Stuff had to make a video on it, and thankfully came on my channel as well. And you know, I think people need that. I think they need Dr. Stuff. They need Crypto Rain. They need, you know, Mr. MC1. They need all these incredibly smart people. And yes, sometimes people do need a little Randy Chavez. And I don't have a, you know, I don't have a crystal ball or anything. But I told Magic, I was like, hey, being Randy Chavez takes a lot out of me, and I'm hoping that you know, people are okay with what I can give them for now. Oh, it's amazing, Tiwi. It's amazing. Love the show. Oh, thanks, Taco Breaks. Oh, thanks, Tiwi. Oh, thanks, Taco Breaks again. You really great. You know, thanks for always being a supporter. There's a lot of people that I think it was around the Akomi verse, or I think Mr. MC1 had asked, Randy, let's say you won, you know, Golden Globe, you won something at the Veve Awards. You know, what do you say to people? Well, you know, what can I say? All the people that have supported me throughout these last few years, you know who you are. If I want to list you all, it'd take forever. We'd be here all night. But I'm super lucky in most things that I do, and I'm super thankful for everyone that's here. Tiwi, I love you guys most of all. The people that are here right now. Bear markets don't last forever. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. Um, there's going to be such an uh, amazing thing of euphoria that we get in the next couple of years. It's going to be great. But again, thanks for going and being here. This means a lot to me. Um, a lot of times it's a lot of the good people, they subscribe, or they are follow me on Twitter or whatever, and like, oh, okay, we'll subscribe because I like what you say and I'll support you. But a lot of times people really don't listen, and really a lot of times in the comments, messages, whatever, they're super negative. So when you guys are here being super positive, that really helps. That's super cool. But I do believe. Well, I'll wait till the $20 super chat goes away, because that should still be there. I don't really want to leave with that. Thank you guys for the 30 likes. If y'all want to smash that like button, get me to 35 likes. That would be super great. But I will go to a comment here from Richard Samuel saying, "Cheers, Randy. Bought $100 of GrumpyCat. I know it's not much, but it might be the wildest ride. It'll be an epic ride." So let's take a look at some of these things that we haven't in a little while, because it's been a couple hours, almost here for 3 hours. So Comey is down to 000655, up 1.1% on the day. So shout out to Comey for that. But let's take a look at the GrumpyCat. That is down 8% on the day, down to $1.67 million market cap. So really not a lot. But it is something that, like I said, I've invested in. I'll continue to invest in. It just happens to have a little thing that I can keep my eye on every now and then. And then another coin, which I won't go too crazy. I won't even tell people about it just yet. I'll keep y'all posted. And if I go to the YouTube comments on the YouTube studio, there will likely be others. So I want to check that real quick. Oh, there's not. Very good. Had a couple subscribers this last couple months. Let's take a look at, did I go over the rest of the news? Let's see if I did or not. Ooh. Featured video, like I said, 15,000 for the day. Let's go over some of the stuff that we would see in the market for the Marvel Mighties, because I really, really like them. I don't know if I'll really buy anything right now, but I'll see. Let's go for Adam Warlock for Guardians of the Galaxy. He's at $19 for him, and a sub 100 for him should probably be, oh, you get number 58 for 8. Get number 95 for $50. Not too shabby. Not too shabby for Adam Warlock. All right, and then after Adam Warlock, we'll go to the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll go to Cosmo and see she is at $60, and her sub 100 is number 61 at $100. Not too bad. At $100, I think you can just get a rocket. So Drax is $14. $13 at retail is only $1 over retail. That seems very, very sus. Cheapest sub 100 is number 87 for $87. Then we have Mantis. So going over the Mantis, $6. Wow, she's only $6. That is super, super scarce. And at $6, her sub 100, $78, not really worth it. But let's go to her counterpart. Let's go to Nebula, who is also a rare. And Nebula's at $9. I don't think she's 50% more popular than Mantis. And her cheapest sub 100 is $69. Everyone comment nice down below with a $69. And then you have Peter Quill. Peter Quill's at $8.25, so it is super cheap. It's usually around the $12 mark. And let's take a look at what the sub 100s are doing. Oh well. One day I'll see you and buy you a drink. It will be epic. Yeah. Yeah, it'll we'll have a couple drinks together. You buy the first round, and then you don't need to buy any drinks after that. But you've had outside of Wraithax that gave me the $500 super chat, you've given me the highest. You've given me a couple of super chats at $100. You've given me a bunch of money tonight. You're just an incredible, incredible person. You're very, very generous, and I feel like I would. You buy the first round, I'll buy the second round, and then we'll drink together all night, and we'll talk about life, love, the war, the good and the bad, you know, origin stories, and all of that. It'll be a wild night when we go. But let me hit you up with some knowledge here. The cheapest sub 100 Peter Quill is number 84 for 109. I don't really think that's worth it right now. And then we go to Rocket. So, like I said, I think if he's under, yeah, this floor price is $102, which is cheaper than a sub 100 Cosmo. But 102 is very, very cheap. And it's number 619, as in San Diego, Rey Mysterio, 619. The cheapest sub 100 of him is actually quite expensive. It's number 90 at 190. So after we take a look at them, we're going to go to the Marvel Mighties, the Ant-Man. So we're going to have Cassie Lang here, who is my favorite. I own 25 of her, like 19 of which are sub 100s. And again, it's $9.49 for just a normal one of her. And there are no sub 100s of her at all because, again, she's super great and I have 19 of them. We have Hope Van Dyne, the Wasp. It's only at $5, and there's super cheap. And the cheapest sub 100 is number 74 at 88. I don't think that's worth it. It's probably worth it to get her for $5. I'm gonna get her. I'm gonna get one of her. Come on, yeah, boom. Okay, let me show you this real quick. Yeah, so $5 for her is stupid cheap. I got it. I wish I could get a sub 100 for her for like $30, but that's not possible. So let's go to Ant-Man. Ant-Man is likely $9 as well. He is $10.70, so a little bit higher than his daughter. And again, there's no sub 100s of him, unfortunately. So after that, we'll take a look at the Wakanda Forever, the Marvel Mighties. M'Baku is over at $5.75. He is the King of Wakanda currently, and there are no sub 100s that I think are worth it, although the number 41 is available for $300. Again, I don't think that's really worth it, but you can get it for that. Nakia, I have a couple sub 100s of her. She's $5.75. They go to Edition Low to High. There are no sub 100s of her that are available. So Namor is another one that I have a couple of. I only have 2 of him. There's only 12 on the market. He's $135, so that's pretty high. Cheapest sub 100 is $230. Not really worth it in my opinion. Then we have Okoye. Okoye is $8.45 for her floor, and the cheapest sub 100 is number 42 at $269. There's only one sub 100. Shout out to her anyway. So we have Queen Ramonda, who I have a ton of her. I have 63 Queen Ramondas. She's $4.50 over at the floor. And oh, hey, Echo Breaks. Thank you for becoming a new member. That means so much. You supported me for such a long time doing, really what you do. You should not need to become a new member, but I thank you for that anyway. You like I said, message me anytime. Do whatever you need anytime you want. What you want, I got it. And number 76 for Queen Ramonda is $80. I don't really think that's worth it right now, but again, to each their own. That's the only one that's available. And then you have Riri Williams, who is only $10 at the floor. And then you take one of her sub 100s, and the cheapest sub 100 is number 41 at $900, which again, I do not think is worth it. But Riri Williams is a really good character. I really like her. The next one after that is going to be the Deadpool Chimichanga Truck. So the Deadpool Chimichanga Truck is at it's $8.75 for them, but the cheapest sub 100 is actually $89 for number 89. It's actually not too bad. It's just not something that I would get right now. Thor, there's not a ton to go over because there's not a ton that's super that people are going to be willing to pay for. Like, for example, Beta Ray Bill is cool, 87 for the floor. Not really anything that's worth it for the sub 100s. But like I said, Beta Build was cool. Jane Foster, same. Jane Foster is a fan favorite. I really, really love her. Natalie Portman that plays her. $7. Cheapest sub 100 is number 54 for 90, or I guess 94 for 94. Again, I don't think worth it. Loki, who has a series out right now, the Loki series, season 2, carrying the MCU on his back. I still haven't finished the end of that episode, but $11 for the sub 100, and the cheapest sub 100, or $11 in general, but the cheapest sub 100 is only $199. I really do not think that is worth it, in my opinion. Going over to Odin. Odin is there's only 24 of him available. $20 at the floor, and the cheapest sub 100 is not even close. It's 189. So like I said, probably not worth it there. We're going to skip Thor because he's not a first appearance, and we're going to go right to Valkyrie as soon as this clears up. So Valkyrie is $4.39 over at the floor, and she is sub 100. Oh, geez, $255. Again, really not worth it. So I'm not going to go over a ton of these. I'll just go over a couple of key ones now. For Captain America, his first appearance in the Marvel Mighties. His floor is $9. I think if you get him for $180, it's probably fine for sub 100. There is none. There is no sub 100s for him. I will check Red Skull because he's the first villain that we see. It's really cool. Only $70 at the floor, and the sub 100 is 28,000. So there's really none of him that are really worth buying. But I think for the Marvel Mighties for Fantastic Four, we'll find better luck with Doctor Doom, who is 93 at the floor, and his cheapest sub 100 is number 57 at $4.99. That's really not bad. Human Torch, there are 44 of him. The floor is $9.50 and 22. The cheapest is number 78 for $220. Next is Invisible Woman. Invisible Woman, we are taking a look at $5.65 for the floor. If you could find, and there's no sub 100s of her, unfortunately. Mr. Fantastic, I think there's always one or two there. He is at less than $4 at the floor, $3.85. And the cheapest sub 100 is number 97 at $197, which again, I do not think is worth it, but that's just me. And last for it, we have The Thing. The Thing, there's 51 of him. Their cheapest one is $3.99, so basically $4. And then if you go and you take a look, the cheapest of him is $3.50, which I don't really love. That should be it, right? Yeah, that's it for everything. So Taco Breaks, the member is about to run out, so I'll keep talking for a little bit. I'll go over I'll go over the rest of the app here and what I want to go over. We'll do Captain Carter. Captain Carter. What is the deal on Veve right now? I'm taking a look for y'all. Taking a look for some stuff on the Marvel Mighties. But the Marvel Mighties are not. I'm not seeing any crazy good deals for the Marvel Mighties, but I will keep looking for you. Captain Carter is at 25 gems for her floor. Her sub 100s or PAGs at 59,000 for number 59, so that's going to be available. But I think a lot of the deals are with the newer stuff. So let's do Frozen. Frozen is Bay. We love her. And we have Anna, who is 69 gems. And her 69 gems, that is her floor. Her sub 100, there's really nothing that's really worth it for sub 100, so we'll ignore that. We'll go over to Elsa, which is not a first appearance, but she looks astounding. $27.50 at the floor. And again, the cheapest sub 100 is $129. Really not worth it right now. We'll do Olaf as an ultra rare. He's at 40 gems. He's exactly at this price. There's not a ton of him. And the cheapest sub 100 we can get is at $149, which is a lot. So the next one I really want to go over is Lion King. Lion King is super good. We'll start with Rafiki, who is he's the ultra rare. He's only at $14.44. So again, super cheap. But I think his sub 100s are very, very cheap. No, actually, it might not be. Number 74 is at $66. Oh, no, 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 no. Number 92 is at $44. That's actually very, very cheap. Seasick Viking. Oh, thank you, good sir. Oh, I thank you. I'm trying my very best. I'm trying to find a deal for taco breaks. Scar was at $60, but let's see his sub 100s. See if he has anything really good. If he had anything under like 100, that'd be fine. Number 67 is 110, and that's okay. Let's find Simba. Simba is really, really good. He's at $31 in general, so he's below retail, and I don't think he should be below retail at all. Unfortunately, the sub 100s, the cheapest one is $300. You will not be getting anything cheaper out of Simba. Let's take a look at Aladdin, because Aladdin has some interesting stuff as well. So Jasmine, there's 180 of her that have not been redeemed. She's at 54 at the floor, and her cheapest is number 93 at 100. It may or may not be good. We will try Aladdin though as the ultra rare. $15 for the floor, and you can actually get him for $60 for number 84 and number 78, which is fine. The genie I think is the best bang for your buck. $17. Not a ton of him have sold. And the cheapest sub 100 is actually me, is number 45 at 220. Probably not worth it. But it is a sub 50, so it might be close. Maybe if it was like 200, it'd be worth it. 220, I think, is too much. Again, that's what I'm talking against myself at that point. Interested in your thoughts on Disney just having their name stamped on these things, just actually producing it. Disney itself sells it. It does. People go crazy for Disney, and they will go crazy for digital collectibles. They're just not here yet. They will. If you think Disney and Marvel and all these other companies are not going to advertise for Veve, it's insane. Of course they will. Like you said, the Disney universe, people go ape for that, and will continue to do so. And I can't wait to be here when everyone comes. The gold and silver Veve logo is at 5,400 gems, which is kind of cool. But I'm really curious about the second Veve logo, the version 2, because not a ton of people have that. There's very, very few of them, and I just kind of want to see where they are. I have number 498 and 294, and they're at $940. David, you did say on a Discord space, do not sell those. So I'm not going to sell those. So like I said, I will keep you all posted on that. Thank you everyone for being here. You guys, 33 watching, 32 likes. This is amazing. It's been about 3 hours now, so I have to say my goodbye. But anyone, shoot me a message, and I'll try to get back at some point. But I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Comments good for the YouTube algorithm. My throat hurts. Everyone say bye-bye, Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. I love you. Where's the end of the stream? Okay.